This is Boston's home for sports.
Saka cross, they scored. Point a shot, rebound, score.
WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. The Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Well, the Patriots' search for a new head coach begins in earnest today when Team Hall of Famer Mike Vrabel comes to Foxborough for a sit-down interview with Robert and Jonathan Kraft. He's the overwhelming favorite to get the job. Tomorrow, the Crafts will interview Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and the team has also reportedly requested a conversation with Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Bill Belichick, meanwhile, has reportedly been contacted by multiple NFL teams, but told them all he's happy in his current job at the University of North Carolina. Las Vegas was one of those franchises, but the Las Vegas Review-Journal says since his minority owner Tom Brady contacted Belichick to pick his brain about a coaching search and not to speak to him about an actual job. The Bruins come back from a night off. They visit Tampa Bay tonight. The Bruins have lost 5 in a row. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Not only that, the NHL announced yesterday a pair of outdoor games next season. That includes the Bruins and the Lightning on February 1st, 2026 at the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium. The Florida Panthers play the Rangers in Miami at the Miami home ballpark, the Marlins home ballpark as well. And in college football news, the national semifinals begin tonight. Penn State plays Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Texas faces Ohio State tomorrow evening in the Cotton Bowl in the other semifinal. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach of Boston Toll for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
Fred Toucher on Instagram. Follow and see dog humping videos.
and Hardy
I'm going to withhold sex.
on 98.5.
Hello.
Hey there.
Yo. Can we use this for the radio? What? Let me hear you say, oh. Na 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 na.
Crush me, mommy.
Just not enough booty to go around? Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the phone. I'll chase you around a little bit.
Wow.
Holy smokes. Yeah.
Instagram.
I want to dip it in, boy.
Toucher and Hardy
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fun. Having some fun.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are the Toucher and Hardy Show. And we are in the Town Fair Tires Studios. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. 617-779-0985. You can watch us on YouTube. Simply go to YouTube and search 98.5 The Sports Hub. And then if you subscribe, you get on the algorithm. Adam, you've suggested this to me before.
Yes.
Speaking of YouTube, there is a guy that sent me an email, and I will read it to you. It says, oh, Fred, you're the best. No, I'm just kidding. All right. It says, Planet Fitness Agreement. Will you go to Planet Fitness? It says, Fred, MGK hate.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, boys, the best YouTuber out there is Pat Finnerty, a
Yes.
musician behind What Makes This Song Stink. He's covered Essential Stinkers, Kryptonite, Danny California, and lots of Kid Rock, but his most recent video is second tackling of MGK, Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly has got a song with Jelly Roll where the chorus is Country Road.
Yes.
And it's a little perplexing. First of all, this I know. First of all, Machine Gun Kelly's supposed to be a nice enough guy. But he's exceptionally, he was not even a terrible rapper. He is very, 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 very short-sighted in his career. Look, it's very tough to be a white rapper. We've gone over this before. There's a lot of, like, you got to go on the Breakfast Club and get Charlamagne the God, like, to go after you.
Sure.
You know, you got Eminem calling you out. You got doing Kill Shot. You got a bunch of stuff. So he pivots to he gets Travis Barker, who is I feel sorry for Travis Barker, but he gets Travis Barker, and they put together a pop punk outfit.
Right. He kind of goes. He has that song "Emo Girl," which, funny enough, was also spoofed and talked about by Pat Finnerty.
But and then he went, and this was funny because this was talked about on the show one time. He played Riot Fest. Now, I've been to Riot Fest a couple times, and it's a big
festival out in Chicago. If you remember.
And it's certainly not like CBGB's in 1979, but or better yet, 1982.
Sure.
But 79 is a very artsy crowd. 82 a little more hardcore.
Hardcore, yeah.
So, but I've been there, and the way it started was it was a punk festival. It's not so much anymore, but it was. And I said, if Machine Gun Kelly goes on stage, he's going to get booed off.
He's going to get destroyed, yeah.
And there was pushback, and he's not, and you don't know what you're talking about. And then he got on stage, and he got booed off. So he says, okay. And then I don't think it's sold particularly well. You can't go by Spotify because, as you know, Adam, the Spotify numbers are manipulated by the record companies.
Yeah, they're all junk.
Yeah. And so then he does what Post Malone did, which I suggested is he followed the Kid Rock model where white rapper turned country artist, because the bar is so low in country that you can probably get a fairly lucrative career. Look, most of them are not going to, be Malibu rich, but you're going to be.
No, but you'll last.
Yeah, you'll be like Nashville rich. Like you can go get like a nice place in Nashville and hang out. But the problem with country music is that if you're like the guy who did the Applebee's song, there's 17 co-writers on every song, and you don't get much publishing from that stuff. No. And I would like Walker, whatever his name is, the Applebee's song, which is the worst popular song ever recorded. No hyperbole.
I'm not going to argue with that.
There's no way he makes money touring. There's just no way. And
what about the Christmas update? That was nice.
Remember that? Yeah,
the Christmas update was really nice.
So bad. He'd be a throw. You remember back, Hardy? You remember this too? Like back when we worked in rock radio and radio stations had festivals, and you'd go to the record label and say, we want Pearl Jam to headline, and they go, that's fine. It's going to cost X amount of dollars, and you also got to book this up-and-coming band we have on the label that we're trying to break. That's who the Walker Buehler guy would be, Fred. Like, you would book, like, a Jelly Roll, and they'd say, yeah, but you got to take this a-hole on, too, and put him in a slot and give him a 15-minute slot.
I'm glad you say that, because the Machine Gun Kelly's record label is wasting so much money on him. So, Machine Gun Kelly gets Jelly Roll, and they do a song called Lonely Road, and it's country road. Have you heard it, Hardy?
I think I have, because the chorus is just like Country Road.
He goes, Lonely Road.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Take me. So he takes one of the most famous choruses of all time and does it. And then the video features Megan Fox and Jelly Roll's lady. But the thing is that they're very poor, and you can tell because there's a medical bill with the big red stamp on it.
Overdue.
This is a cartoon from the 1940s, Warner Brothers, with the big kadunk.
Yeah, it's from the Acme Company. And
past due.
Yeah, well, no, it's what is it? Would you say, Hardy? The thing is, what is they stomp on it? The
overdue.
Overdue. Because past due is what they really say. Overdue is for the Hicks. So. The video has credits in a title sequence.
Oh, great.
I mean, it's hysterical. I mean, it's if you watch that and go, cool, you're out of your mind. So anyway, Jelly Roll's lady's pregnant, and so I don't know why Machine Gun Kelly needs money, but Machine Gun Kelly goes to rob a bank. So he goes, and this is all while this Country Road is playing. He gets up on the teller.
Lonely Road.
Yeah, no, but you know what I'm saying. It's
know,
Country Road reimagined in the verses. And he gets up on the counter and he puts a machine gun in the guy's face.
A little on the nose.
And then he takes off on a motorcycle. But he's painted the motorcycle. They show him painting the motorcycle so no one will know it's his motorcycle.
Ooh.
Wouldn't you paint the motorcycle after you robbed the bank?
Yes.
Or get rid of the motorcycle because you just robbed the bank.
Right.
Ditch the motorcycle because you just robbed the bank. or steal a motorcycle, or don't take a motorcycle.
Yeah, but motorcycles are so cool, Fred. We got to put a motorcycle.
But it's not even just a motorcycle. It's like a country motorcycle. It's like an off-road motorcycle.
Oh, yeah, dirt bike. It's a dirt
bike. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, dirt bike, right?
I hate this. I love it.
So no, it's real bad. So anyway, this guy's good, but it's a little intensive the thing because there's a lot of sound effects, and he's a good musician. You can tell.
You're talking about Finnerty now.
Finnerty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I haven't watched that clip. I'm waiting to watch that clip with my kid because my kid and I watch them together because we're huge fans.
It's real long. But he's
it's worth it.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
You had told me about him, but I never watched him before.
He's
so
great.
now
and he is a good musician. Yes.
So I go, whoa, this is really bad, and so I Google MGK Country Roads.
Mm-hmm.
So the song again is Lonely Roads. His label gets him at a Penn State, West Virginia game where they play Country Roads anyway because it's the only song of all time with West Virginia in it.
Yeah, right.
And he goes out and just plays Country Roads, a cover of the John Denver Country Roads song. And, so the whole stadium, because they're mouth-breathing inbreds, is all, very happy for him. So here he is standing in front of the crowd playing the John Denver song. I can assure you of this. Outside of like a celebrity rehab situation, you will, or a death, you will, Machine Gun Kelly will never, ever, 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 ever be a music that you hear for the rest of your existence.
No.
There's too many. If I'm the label now, I'm like, okay, too many tries.
Here's the irony. He should have just covered the song to begin with instead of doing this weird like Puff Daddy 90s-esque interpolation of like, how Puff Daddy would take a song and just like the full song, not a sample, like just rap over a song. Like that's
like
basically
Every
what
Breath
they're
You
doing
Take.
with this, right? Exactly.
Come with me.
But you would think like wasn't one of the biggest hits of like last year or the year before? One of those jackasses covered "Fast Car" by Tracy Chapman.
Oh, and it's like a note for
and it's
note.
literally like the dude did nothing to change it at all. And
she went up and had to perform it. At the
which is so
Grammys,
embarrassing
right?
for her. I feel so bad for her.
She's the first.
That's Luke Combs.
That guy.
Yeah. She's the first.
Is he playing Boston?
Hang on. Before you judge him for that.
Yeah.
She's the first African American woman, I guess I'll put it, to have written a number one country song.
For country, yes.
I'm sure she's not complaining.
No. It's
by the way,
it's good.
if you want to do a cover song, do a cover song.
Well, that's the point that I'm making is they should have just done that. They should have looked at that model and go, oh, well, let's just do a cover, like a straight cover of Country Roads, and it'll be a bigger hit probably.
But this like idea of now he's this, it doesn't even make sense. Nothing of it makes sense. Now he's this miserable country loner. He's from Cleveland. He was fronting like he was some like urban kid forever, and then they just shift lifestyle.
He's been through. This is his third iteration, and
there's no way.
He's done. Yeah.
There's no way the public cares anymore. There's no way. I mean, Megan Fox is. I don't even know if they're still married, but if Megan Fox, if if they ever got married, she get back with David Silver. But as she gets older and no one cares and there's no way. If you're the label, I mean, you got to bag out on him now. What am I going to keep him around for? And major labels don't really matter anymore, but I'm not continuing to market him.
No,
as
and you
anything.
can't put him on like festivals this year because it's not like he's been doing it long enough to have a catalog to draw on to even do probably like a 25-minute set.
If you put him on a country festival, I guess you could, but he would do a 25-minute set.
I don't know. I was going to say I don't know country festivals well enough to know. Can you do like a 15-minute set at a country festival? You probably can. Right?
I think they're probably very
if you're
forgiving
an undercard,
too.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to get drunk,
right?
And not to get like too dorky about this, but the back line for artists at a country festival, I'm guessing not a lot of stuff needs to be swapped out. Like everybody can use the same drum kit.
They use the same band. They probably have like one backing band, and these idiots come out in front and do their songs. You tell I'm not a big fan of the modern country music?
Well, everyone is.
I'm a big fan of Pat Finnerty, though, Fred. I just wanted to say that. Thanks for bringing him up. Because
Kenny Aronoff from the John Cougar Mellencamp band, he gets in, he just plays drums for everyone.
That guy's pretty legit.
Yeah. But listen, modern drummer of the year. By the way, the Lonely Road video has 33.2 million views.
There you go.
And I don't believe that.
How long's it been out for? What is it? It should tell you like X months ago that it was posted. I'm curious.
5 months ago.
That's actually not good. That's not good. Did you say 33 million in 5 months? It should be way more than that for a hit country song.
Well, yeah, his Country Road at the college football on Fox has only got 359,000.
Ooh.
Yeah, it didn't do well. Did it get played on the radio outside of Cleveland? Where I guess, he's...
I'm guessing it did. I'll bet if we pulled the playlist of the station down the hall, they'd probably...
Well, that's why it's failing.
I'm looking at clips of this video right now. The infertility diagnosis paperwork that gets handed back and forth between the two of them.
Good grief.
I can relate. We've been trying to give Sissy, Bubba, Birdie, Buster a little sister, and we just can't. Oh, woe is us. We can't have our fifth.
Yeah, that's the thing is that in West Virginia, I would put stuff that stopped the production of sperm in the water. So there's not so much inbreeding. West Virginia is the one state that I'm afraid of. Apparently, I told you I had a friend I don't know why I always say I told you. I had a friend who in the 90s was in a, say, metal band that was very small. And it is my friend Alex Cho, and he was in D.C. He lived in D.C., and they did a regional tour. And he said that he played this place in West Virginia, and it was super creepy, and people were still dressed like Michael Jackson. It was 10 years, legitimately 10 years
I believe
behind.
it. Stay out of the hollers. Oof.
What's the hollers?
Hollers are the really country places that people live in.
Like Butcher Holler. That's where Loretta Lynn is from.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And Crystal Gale's got really long hair.
I'm proud to be a coal miner's
All the way
daughter.
down to her ankles.
I was born in a cabin in Butcher Holler.
Of course.
Coal miner's daughter.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it? Sissy Spacek and Tommy Lee Jones?
No, Sissy Spacek freaks me out.
It's a tour de force, Fred. With Beverly D'Angelo as Patsy Cline?
I only like Beverly D'Angelo in her negligee laying in bed in Christmas Vacation as Chevy Chase's hands get stuck to the People magazine.
See, I like it in European Vacation when she does the "You walked in, you big spender."
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-boom, ba-boom.
I just want to know why they casted in European Vacation such hunks and beauties as the kids in that one.
Rusty.
Yeah, Rusty.
Good old Rusty.
I think they probably caught and got a not attractive person at an awkward age. So they really doubled down on that casting. Here's someone who, wasn't a cute kid, probably won't make a cute adult, but let's get him at an already bad-looking person at the worst looking point of their life.
And let's put them in a pig costume to start the movie with the pig in the poke bit.
And let's have her be with the guy from Just Karate Kid and just one of the guys. There's no way in a million years she'd get. And who banged Audrey from Vegas Vacation? My friend Andrew.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Delightful.
She's from the Chicagoland area, and he had sex with her in high school.
Here's a good trivia question. What 90s alternative song is Audrey dancing to in Vegas Vacation when they climb up on top of the neon signs in the neon sign graveyard, even though all the neon signs work, so I don't know why they're in this dilapidated situation.
Is it an Empire Records situation?
Like of that ilk. It's a female vocalist, kind of poppy, dancey, but it was alternative radio. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, Ready to Go by Republica?
There you go.
There you
Nice
go.
job.
Very good.
And that's funny because I watched that movie a lot. I have the Criterion copy of it. All right, very good.
She only had that one dance. She did the same dance at Club Areola when she got the job. She wasn't a peeler, mind you, John. She was just up there as a go-go dancer, kind of like in a what do you call that? Like a micro dress.
She was pretty good. I mean, she was good looking. I mean, I was very impressed when I heard my. I guess she's had a tough post Vegas vacation life, but she was very good looking at the time. All right, what happened last night? So much. There's been rumors about old coaches coming back and everything else. We will have that for you in just a moment.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way. If your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lopresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. We don't have to get into it right this second, but Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald have a very intensive article about Jerod Mayo that we are dropped at 26 minutes ago. So we're combing through it as we speak.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that very, very soon. But on the day where Mike Vrabel is set to visit with the Patriots, and this is going to be, how many interviews have they conducted officially so far, John, that we know
Two.
about?
Two that we've known so far. The sham that happened on Tuesday where they brought in Pep Hamilton and they brought in Byron Leftwich. This is interview number 3.
All right. So, but that has not stopped people from commenting and talking about other coaches that have been here in the past. And most notably, the news that came out yesterday that Tom Brady had spoken with Bill Belichick about perhaps coaching the Las Vegas Raiders. And, you know, when stories like this break, Fred, we go to the experts. We go to the people who have tough commentary on these situations, who know the players involved. And, of course, that is Pat McAfee.
Even the people that didn't want him to become a coach for their team were saying, this is wild that he can't get an NFL job. Turns out the arrow's telling us, a lot of people are like, hey, last year, that coaching cycle, those people messed it up. That's not on us. We are now in the market. Would you want to come?
So
how much coke is that guy doing before shows?
It turns out, according to Pat McAfee, there were, like, I'm just going to say it, multiple offers out there from NFL teams for Bill Belichick to come back and coach. There's a lot of people out there. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bill had tired of the NFL game, so he quit before they could fire him. You know what I'm saying? He quit before, other teams could come calling. That's right.
People are so football hungry that just the idea that, well, first of all, there's all these mixed messages, John. I'll let you tell everyone what people are saying is really going on. But, I wonder if a team was asked directly, like, hey, have you thought about Bill Belichick? And they're just like, sure. Yeah, sure. Like you're not going to, chances are you're not going to say no to the media about being open to hiring someone, right? Like that. Why would you do that? What's
open?
Yeah.
Sure.
What is the benefit of saying no?
Don't close off anything because you never know. Sure.
Yeah. I don't think that there's this idea. And Pat McAfee's, boy, is he bad. He's just, if you watch him, I don't know what's wrong with you. We can't be friends. Go ahead.
All right.
What's going? So John, what do you know about the Belichick thing? I'll tell you this: The Athletic put out a thing that Belichick can't leave. He won't leave North Carolina. He really can't. If you want to talk about destroying your legacy, if as a man, not as a coach, say some dumb team wanted a 73-year-old guy. And they bring him in, and they pay out North Carolina the $10 million, and he goes and coaches. And how many does he need for the wins record?
11. Something.
So
like
say
that,
he coaches the next 2 years and gets the win record, okay? Mm-hmm. And he'll be remembered as a man for taking a college job, actively recruiting, taping himself, and going on TV with him recruiting. He got the defensive lineman that he tampered with at UConn to transfer. You remember the UConn coach after the Fenway Bowl said, we're aware of people illegally tampering with our players, and we'll do everything in our power to keep them. Well, who declared right after that game for the transfer portal? But their star defensive lineman who's now going to North Carolina. So if you put 2 and 2 together, Belichick was tampering. He's cheating, which is a big surprise. And so, so you get these kids to transfer. It's January, so some of these kids that have committed to you, you know, they leave high school early and come into the program in the spring. You know that. And the transfers, you know, come in before they can come in, I believe, before the season. So you got all these people to change commitments and to flip. And then you go, oh, by the way, screw all of you. It's one thing to leave a team right after a season. It's another thing to take a job right after a season, then actively recruit and actively get kids to transfer into your school. And I know they get paid, but not all of them. And they're still, you know, young men. And then you just go, screw you, I got a better opportunity.
Belichick needs 15, by the way.
Okay, well, so say it takes him 3 years.
Yeah.
So he can't. Like, I'm sure he would because he seems like a dick. But, I mean, as a man and really as like a coach, a leader of men, I mean, you could never, if you liked him now, you could never respect him again. So he chased a personal accolade over a commitment that he made to a bunch of young men and to an institution. That's great. That's quite the message.
McAfee has thoughts on the whole UNC situation.
And I think it's a $1 million buyout, something like that after June.
Yeah, after June, right? 10 before, 1 after.
Yeah, Belichick's UNC contract includes a $10 million buyout if he leaves prior to June 1st, which $10 million bucks. Bill Belichick can do that. Any NFL team can do that.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that. And then $1 million bucks, obviously, if he leaves prior to June 1st, 2005. And if he returns to the NFL, I think it's after June 1st, it's like $1 million bucks or something like that.
Okay.
Why don't you just say it's $10 million bucks this year, and then after June 1st, it's $1 million?
He did, but then he doubled back and confused everybody.
Well, he's got to get one of the guys with an ironic mullet and mustache to chime in.
He's got an A.J. Hawk to say something.
No, A.J. Hawk just looks handsome with the camera.
I think it becomes a very manageable contract, and I think he negotiated that way because this could potentially be an opportunity if the dream job opens up. Now, Mark Davis, Tom Telesco, would they allow Bill Belichick to come in and do his thing out there? If Tom Brady's saying, hey, this is what we're doing, I think they certainly would. How does Bill feel about it? We'll ask him next Monday. Will he give us an answer? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that that's not going to be a problem. The Las Vegas Review-Journal, who Hardy, having lived there, that is the paper of record of that fine city, correct?
It's pretty much the New York Times west of the Mississippi.
Sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
There's a Raiders beat writer. His name is Vincent Bond Sr. He tweeted yesterday afternoon.
He's the murderer.
Yes.
He did it with a candlestick in the cloakroom.
So he tweeted yesterday that his sense is the conversation between Brady and Belichick was more Brady picking Belichick's brain on what questions to ask candidates rather than offering the job or trying to get Belichick to come to Las Vegas.
Yeah, so Brady, who, when you see him speak like publicly, obviously is quite motivational and obviously knows a tremendous amount about being motivated and playing football. I mean, he's got a brilliant football mind. He's certainly intelligent. You're telling me that he goes, I had one coach my entire life in the pros, him. And look, we have no quarterback. We're realistically, even in like the way the NFL is now, let's say 2 years away from really challenging. I mean, from a division title in that division, you're probably 3-4 years away, best case scenario. Let's say 3 years away, the way the NFL is now. 3 years away from challenging for a division title. You're going to bring in a 73-year-old to orchestrate that rebuild, and you're going to give him what? And then you're going to have that very powerful owner and Mark Davis just kowtowing to everything Belichick wants. Well, you're begging for no more, 4-13 seasons because he can't draft, he can't rebuild that way, and he can't win. I mean, he's not going to win there. So what are you going to do?
You have to basically hit the reset button all over again. New front office, new coaching staff, do everything when he leaves.
It's just such a lazy thing that, Brady's Brady's a minority owner. He'll probably be involved in the coaching search. He knows Belichick.
But he also knows Bruce Arians, and I didn't hear that name get brought up, so you got to give Brady some credit. He's had more than one coach. How dare you?
Oh, that's right. Arians. I'm sorry. Arians.
Todd Bowles too. Didn't he play under Bowles?
That last season was that Bowles?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Todd Bowles has got a job, so Todd Bowles.
He's not coming.
What about what the buyout is?
You know, I can't do a Pittsburgh accent, even though I was born there. It's just this.
What the buyout is?
Yeah, thank you, Dwayne.
It's just a nonsense narrative. It's just a nonsense narrative that I'm sure Belichick is pushing through one of his minions, his two little guys that he's got going over there, Patricia and Lombardi. I'm sure Lombardi's the guy feeding everyone this information.
Huh?
There's no way. If wait, Brady, what a scientific search you've done. You just pointed to the coach you had for 20-some years and just said him.
That bullcrap.
And are we positive that Belichick and Brady, I know that they've been on stage together. Are we even positive they have this good relationship?
No.
I mean, why? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Look, they may have made up to the point where they can, show up and spend a couple hours at a roast together, but that's a far cry from being in a working relationship as a minority owner and a head coach. Those two hated each other like poison at the end. That's why Brady left or wasn't re-signed. Whatever you've made your mind up to be the truth,
left.
Because those two couldn't do it together anymore.
Oh, by the way, can I... What did everyone say last offseason? Everyone insisted that Belichick was going to get a job last offseason, and he didn't. So now that he's taken a JV college job with a $10 million buyout, now he's getting a job. And outside of Atlanta, who got hired last year that was terrible? The Carolina coach turned that team around.
Other than Jerod Mayo?
Jerod Mayo, who's they're not hiring him for the Patriots aren't hiring him. Atlanta's coach blew it, but Kirk Cousins didn't help him.
Yeah, with the Raiders, it was the first full year.
But he had,
as an interim.
Yeah, but he had been an interim coach. I know there's other teams that had rookie coaches. Was Seattle's coach a first-year coach? Because they had 10 wins. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, McAfee cautions his friend Bill Belichick on what this could mean.
Well, everybody that's recruiting the same players that Bill Belichick is recruiting, use this against him? Absolutely. Just like they were doing to Nick Saban for the last 10 years of his college coaching career, where they're like, he's quitting. That guy, he's Hall of Fame. He's already GOAT, brother. Mm-hmm. You think he's going to stick
Washington's got a new coach, and they're in the playoffs?
Yeah, it was Dave Canales, Carolina, Antonio Pierce, Raiders, Jim Harbaugh, Chargers, Raheem Morris, Falcons, Dan Quinn, Commanders, Brian Callahan, Tennessee. I guess Callahan's still on board. Mike McDonald is the guy you're talking about in Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
And Jerod Mayo.
Okay, so give them to me again. I'm sorry.
Okay, Jerod Mayo.
Okay.
Mike McDonald, Seattle.
Yep.
Brian Callahan, Tennessee. He's keeping his job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, they like him there. Go ahead.
They're blowing out the GM.
Yeah, they're blowing out the GM and keeping him.
Dan Quinn, Washington Commanders. Raheem Morris, who got hired over Belichick in Atlanta. Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. And Dave Canales with Carolina.
Okay, I'm not counting Antonio Pierce. Well, Washington's in the playoffs. Seattle had 10 wins, and I think they're the first 10-win team not to play the playoffs in quite some time. Carolina completely turned things around at the end of the season, and the coach reinvented Bryce Young.
Canales, Young found himself after he came back from his benching.
Right.
Yes, he was
so,
much better.
I mean, outside of the Patriots and Atlanta, and you could make Raheem Morris, you could give excuses for Raheem Morris, which the way Cousins played.
They were 8-9 with, Cousins played well at the beginning.
He just blew that last game so badly. He just blew that last game so badly. All right. Well, listen, I don't think that Belichick, and I think it's a false narrative that all these new coaches were so terrible, except for Mayo, who was set up to fail. Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyde have a big article about it in the Herald. We will review that article for you coming right up. called rising and grinding.
Start your
Got
day.
your finger on the pulse, Fred.
Begin your
Seldom
day
right and never wrong.
right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
Ina looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Make every moment more with FanDuel. Our good friend Andrew Callahan and his great partner Doug Kyde have a article out in the Boston Herald where they got in depth. They talked to a lot of player and staff members about what was happening with Mayo. Now, yesterday we did the story that Mayo on the plane back from the Arizona game got up and was hanging out with players in the back. And I told you, I don't know, like I can't pretend I know what goes on team planes. I guess that's odd, but I don't know, like, if no coach that's been good ever has done that. Like
That's the one part of Chad Graff's story that nationwide the media kind of glommed onto. That's the one thing they kept bringing up.
Yeah, and it's like, you guys know that's like what, like, why is that necessarily bad? Like, you could not possibly win football games with going in the back and being with the players, but I don't know. You know, I don't know what goes on planes. So, guys, I don't think any of this is like terrible stuff, but it shows that Mayo didn't know. But it's also stuff we kind of figured.
That Mayo wasn't ready, didn't really know how to implement things. You know, the players kind of sensed it immediately. There's a thing about
but let's get more even basic with it. Okay. Mayo didn't know what he was doing. His staff sucked, and the team sucked. So, like, we knew the roster sucked, the staff sucked, and he didn't know what he was doing. He was set up to fail. That's kind of the overreaching thing of this article.
Yeah, and I would say that the article, while it goes into a couple of things here, and we can get into them,
and very damning of ownership in a way.
I was going to say that are Mayo specific. It has as much to do with ownership and management and the GM as it does Jerod Mayo. As far as the Jerod Mayo stuff. And again, this is from the Herald this morning from Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyde. They talk about the mixed messages. A team source says Mayo kept talking about these North Stars. And all of us in the building were like, what are they? Can you share them with us? What's the goal? What's the vision here? So he had ideas of what he wanted to do, but he wasn't, I guess, great at communicating them to them. And he was inconsistent with the discipline. Another source said discipline is mandatory when you have a young team, so we don't try and cut corners or slip through the cracks and stuff like that. I feel like that's really what happened with Mayo. And they bring up instances of that.
Yeah, and then just to get back to the first point, an AFC executive said Mayo never had a chance. He wasn't ready. His staff was average. His roster sucked. He wasn't given it a shot to grow and learn from his mistakes. Mm-hmm. But there is, just real quick, we're going to get into this more at 7:40. Quote from someone around the organization, a staffer. I think in the end, a lot of the NFL comes down to the decisions of 80-whatever-year-old men who don't really know what's happening from a football perspective. There's no board to answer to or anything. We're in a unique business. Then the other thing about ownership, other than, Kraft admitting that he screwed up the hire and kind of rushed everything, even though he had a long time to come up with a plan. This was a plan a long time in the making that he didn't do well.
Yes, the Kraft's plan, laid years in advance, took 11 months to rip apart.
Yeah, and so this is after the Chargers lost, and Tavai made those terrible, terrible statements about the fans on the radio. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was real. I mean, if you're a fan, you got to be like, hello. 2 days after that interview in the Patriots season finale, Tavai sat for the entire first quarter against Buffalo. As you know, Mayo declined to explain why post-game. A rumor spread inside the building that ownership had ordered Tavai to be benched for his comments that incited an already angry fan base. At least two veterans identified the Patriots' culture as problematic while cleaning out their lockers Monday, though one poignantly included members of the organization outside the locker room. So that is obviously the Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like Elliot Wolf's not ever in the locker room.
Nope.
I mean, Elliot Wolf is in the locker room, even according to this article. So we'll get into it more. It's more about how the coaches sucked. None of them had experience.
Gets into detail specifically how the coaches sucked and why the players sucked and how Mayo wanted to have a captain-led
And then they all got hurt.
They
or
all got
arrested.
hurt, and then guys who shouldn't have been in leadership roles stepped into leadership roles.
Well, when your roster sucks and you don't have many
Yeah.
veterans that are any good, if you lose Peppers and Andrews and those guys,
Yeah.
I mean, like that. Then
there are no leaders to lead.
There's no leaders to lead,
and then you have a head coach who doesn't know how to lead, and it's just the bottom line was everything was bad, systematically inside and out. There is so much. The one thing I came away from this article thinking was there is so much work that has to be done. They are so far away from being respectable.
Yeah. Their organization's a joke. It's a joke just like every other bad organization now. But I will tell you this: is that I can tell you that if I was Kraft and I got rid of Belichick a year before I thought I was going to, I don't believe that year would have done anything for Mayo anyway. By the way, because Belichick wasn't going to help him.
That's one thing that the Graph article told us, that Belichick hadn't done any tutoring of Mayo.
And he wasn't going to change his mind about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I got to get Mayo in, right? I would have pulled every lever and used every connection I could to surround him with a veteran coaching staff. I don't need a whiz kid X's and O's guy or anything. I need guys that have done it before. And I would have brought in, besides Bob McAdoo, I would have brought in a guy, Ben McAdoo. Bob McAdoo is a great basketball player. Yes. Besides, the whole audience is going, "Hey, you idiot, it's Ben McAdoo."
I'm sorry.
No, you should. You should. I really do want you to correct me, because I'm sure it is annoying to a small portion of the audience. I'm sure I annoy them, the large portion of the audience.
Former Celtic.
Yeah. And so anyway, besides Ben McAdoo, you should have brought in maybe even a guy that's been. There's guys out there that have been head coaches where they might have not been the world's greatest head coach, but at least they know how it's done.
They know what they don't know.
And also just from an organizational perspective, regardless of their success with wins and losses, they've been there and they know what the job takes, what it entails, I should say. Not maybe what it takes, but what it entails.
So can you hire Ben Johnson after interviewing him tomorrow?
No, and Ben Johnson wouldn't take this job. I know they have Drake May.
The fact that he is interviewing for it on some level means he's curious.
And by the way, I told you guys this. Ben Johnson's a weird interview. He's not Jerod Mayo. He's not a
He's
charismatic.
If you're on the fence about him, he's not going to win you over with his personality.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if that lends itself to being an NFL head coach. He's like an Adam Gase type guy with bug eyes and everything else. He's handsome. But.
Truth be told, I think the Crafts only scheduled this interview and reached out to Aaron Glenn to give themselves some leverage against Mike Vrabel, who's going to be here today. So you know what? If you don't like what we're selling, we have these other two guys.
I have no idea if Aaron Glenn's going to be a good coach or not, but he was a really good player. He was a scout. He's held every position on a coaching staff. And if I was an owner, I would hire Aaron Glenn before I would hire Ben Johnson.
The Patriots
and that might be a mistake, but if and maybe I'd be wrong, just like 90% of coaching hires are wrong, I would hire Aaron Glenn before Ben Johnson.
Real quick, I see we're up against the clock. There's no way Aaron Glenn's ever coming here.
No.
He's got a limited window like Ben Johnson does in 5 interviews before the Patriots, which means I can't talk to him until Detroit is out of the playoffs.
If he doesn't go to the Jets,
I think he's coming here.
I'm almost positive.
There's no way he's ever talking to this team.
I'm almost positive he's going to go to the Jets, and if not, he'll go to New Orleans. All right, look, he's getting a job. We'll be back in just a moment. And why are they interviewing? Yeah, you know why they're not interviewing? Because they chucked out the 2 Rooney Rule guys right away. They don't intend to get past
They only reached out yesterday after media and public backlash.
All right,
that's
listen.
ridiculous.
I brought up the controversy surrounding a certain show doing our show a week from Monday.
I don't know that even now you should be talking about it, Fred. Have you gotten the green light to talk about this?
Baby, I don't play by the rules.
Oh, boy.
I'll whip anyone who comes at me with my chain. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the
Patriots are scheduled to have an in-person interview with a member of the team's Hall of Fame, Mike Vrabel, today as they continue their search for a new head coach. They'll have a virtual interview with Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson tomorrow, and have also submitted a request to speak to Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as well. Multiple NFL teams have reportedly reached out to Bill Belichick to see if he'd be interested in coaching the pros again, and he said he's happy at North Carolina. Also, the Las Vegas Review-Journal reports Tom Brady and the Raiders spoke to him, but only to get an idea of what to ask candidates for their vacancy, not to pitch him the actual job. The Bruins come back from a night off. They visit Tampa Bay tonight. Bruins trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The NHL also announced yesterday a pair of outdoor games next season. That includes the Bruins and the Lightning, February 1st, 2026 at the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium. The wildfires in L.A. have prompted the NHL to postpone the Kings home game against Calgary scheduled for last night. The Lakers home game against Charlotte tonight. The NFL playoff game between the Rams and Minnesota this coming Monday are currently under review. And in college football news, the national semifinals begin tonight. Penn State plays Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Texas faces Ohio State tomorrow night in the Cotton Bowl. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Shaws and Star Market Foundation. They've teamed with Trent Frederick for Feeding the Puck for Families to help fight food insecurity. Learn how they're assisting the Greater Boston Food Bank at 985thesportshub.com/feedthepuck. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
Get the app.
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 The Sports Hub app. Get the app. Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy
That's what I want on my tombstone.
on the Sports Hub.
Fred Toucher, that is a sensation, and Hardy's got Ed Hardy 98.5, and Wallach barely even uses him. So
John Wallach, 24. Thank you, Fred.
And 24 is because of Ken Griffey.
Junior. Yes.
Yeah, Junior is very important to say. Well, yesterday, before the show, we had gotten a text from our assistant program director, Jim Louth, that said, look, we had told you that there was a chance that Felger and Mazz, because I believe it's a Celtics game, there's a Celtics game on Martin Luther King Day, and their shift thereby would only be a half an hour. They want to work the holiday. Now, if you work a company holiday, that means you get a floating day for later. So you get rewarded for taking the day. So shrewdly, if you had a half an hour shift, you would say, hey, I want to work that day. I only have to come in for a half an hour. Well, Hardy and I are going to be in Detroit, Michigan for the big playoff game. Well.
Which, by the way, I have a bone to pick with you about.
Why?
About the hotel booking.
What about it?
Because you said that you got this awesome rate, and so I'm like, oh, man, I booked on the wrong site, and so I canceled that reservation. And then I went, to the site. It's the same. The first rate that you see is starting at, and then the rate jumps up exponentially for Saturday night and Sunday night, which is what happened to you too, but you didn't read the fine print.
Well, first of all, I got a suite because I have my son.
And because you're just obscenely wealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Greektown Casino Hotel in downtown Detroit.
Hollywood
Casino Hotel in Detroit is the Ritz-Carlton of Hollywood Casino Hotels.
Yeah, but Party's right. You're dripping money. We understand.
I have plenty of money. It's fine. Yes, I can afford to go to the Hollywood Casino in Detroit. It would not really have to affect much. But nonetheless, now getting to the game will be the different story. But nonetheless, so we'll be in Detroit. And so whatever, like Felger and Mazz are going to do the show, that's great. I mean, I don't think any of us really particularly cared. But it would be funny to talk about on the air because, like, it's just something, right?
Yeah.
So the next morning, Adam comes in and he says, Jim Louth, our assistant program director, said, hold off, boys. Before you run with this absolute explosive story, could you please not talk about it today? Because guess what? The fine print has not, the ink is not dried.
Yeah.
Let's keep it. And to that, I said, this might be the dumbest request I've ever got in my life. If Felger and Mazz don't want to do the morning show, Who cares? Why do you care? It's Martin Luther King Day. There's a reason it's a company holiday. It's everyone else's company holiday. Who cares? It's one show. They've never done it before. It doesn't matter. It's not like if they do it and everyone in town listens, it's of much of a benefit to anyone. Who cares? No one's going to be up in the morning. I wouldn't want to come in either if I was them.
Right.
But
either way, it's okay for us to talk about.
Yeah, and like what? So yeah, like why can't we talk about it?
So was there any pushback, 12? The fact that we did talk about it yesterday?
No.
Okay.
No, I have to imagine if Jim heard that, he would then go, you know what? Hearing it out loud, it was ridiculous. It was such a stupid thing to ask them not to talk about. And what's funny is the day before we said, oh, we can talk about that on air in front of him. And he was like, like that's kind of the whole point about it, would be talking about it. It would give us 5 minutes of a show, but now that Jim said that, it's giving us much more time. Well, the off-air show.
No.
Swearing.
Oh.
It's the off-air show because Felger lets it fly. Curse word, curse word, curse word. The FCC ain't got no hold of that show.
No.
He's in another
Those
room.
are not public airwaves.
He's in another room. It's brought to you by Miller Lite. And him and usually Jim Murray, but not always. They're sitting there, and it's the off-air show because they're not constrained by the government regulation. They can really let loose. Now, are they answering questions from listeners here, or did he just bring it up? What's going on? Ryan's heard it.
Ryan says it's a listener question.
All right, so the listeners, they pepper him with questions. And this is now on YouTube, by the way. It's not on Facebook anymore. This is on YouTube. So here are Felger and Jim Murray, correct? Jim Murray. Here are Felger and Jim Murray.
Tim writes that.
By the way, the audio quality sucks because
it's horrific.
Because they're on YouTube and they couldn't figure it out. Not them, but whoever's doing it.
Tim writes that. Fred said you might do a morning show on MLK Day. Are you thinking about it?
You want to answer this?
The cat's out of the bag. You idiot. Yes.
Yeah, the cat's out of the bag. The cat. That's right. The cat's out of the bag.
The cat's out of the bag.
The cat is out of the bag. You're welcome, Fox 25. You're my first choice to come in here and cover this thing. The big announcement that a show on the same station might come on a little earlier. That's it. You are welcome. They're coming on a full 8 hours earlier, ladies and gentlemen.
We have been thinking about it, not even been thinking about it. We were asked yesterday, and I think, you know what, we've accepted.
Yes, that is correct.
There will be a Felger and Mazz takeover of Patriots and Hardy on MLK Day, Monday, January 20th?
Yes,
Monday the 20th, Felger and Mazz, Murray will be doing.
Oh, Murray's doing it. That's actually surprising. He doesn't like the mornings.
Fletcher and Hardy.
It took some arm twisting.
One day, one morning.
Yeah.
One morning, I will be remote probably.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
Where is he all the time?
Well,
Wouldn't you rather be? I'd rather be in here if I like the people I'm with.
This lessens the impact just a little bit. There's no getting up
if
early.
you can just
coming
roll out
into
of
the
bed.
studio. I mean, that makes it a little different.
So he spends the summers in Nantucket. So is he in Florida in the winter?
I think it's a lot of traveling to see his parents, and the Nantucket stuff. Sure, that's where he wants to be, and not that he doesn't love his parents, but I think a lot of that is he's obligated, and there's reasons why he's making so many trips down there. So some of it is by necessity.
Okay, I wasn't judging him by going to Florida. I was just asking.
Yeah.
But he's doing it to help his parents.
But
Fine.
the news is they're doing it. This is happening.
I think I'm still in shock, Hardy. That's why I'm focusing on why he's in Florida. I know that people are going to clip this and it's going to go extremely viral.
Let's help him out. Felger and Mazz in the morning.
Hello, TMZ. Another call from the New York Times.
yeah, happy to do it. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Is Jimmy Stewart producing or is Adam 12 producing?
That I can't speak to.
Are you producing, Adam?
No, I'll be taking a vacation day that
Whoa!
Thursday.
Yeah,
Jeez, the plot thickens.
I don't know. If I was Jimmy, I don't know if who knows? You never know with him, though. So that's a Jimmy Stewart question.
Do we do the cut
their
your heart
segments?
I said I would like to do the shoot in the breeze thing that they do.
Okay.
Okay. It's what Agenda Free Friday should be, where we just take calls on whatever you want, but it just ends up us bitching about the Patriots for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But we'll do the shoot in the breeze thing. I would assume.
Whoa.
Didn't you copyright that?
I mean, shooting the breeze. Whoa. That's taking phone calls about anything. You're just going to rip that off?
It's a trademarked bit.
I mean, I thought that took me hours and hours and hours to conceive.
That is a Fred Toucher benchmark.
Yeah.
My God, the audacity of you to think that you can just rip away my opening the phone lines and taking calls. You know what? I'll be the bigger man. You may have it. I'm surprised he actually knows what it is because I don't think he is much of a. I don't think he thinks this is a bad show.
Well, you know what?
I just don't think he's much of a fan of it.
The more we listen to this, the more I think he does know what this show is about, especially early on. Go ahead.
Well, I tell you, I was in New York and Felger and I spoke together at a radio conference, and Felger was very complimentary, and it was sincerely so. So I know I like Felger. I don't think he thinks the show is bad. I think he appreciates the talent of the show.
I think it gives him anxiety thinking about doing a show the way we do a show.
He was very complimentary in that way, in that, like, we do things in a way that he would be uncomfortable doing, but it's the same thing, is that I couldn't do Felger's show. Like, I wouldn't be nearly, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like, I wouldn't be able to, there is a creativity to coming up with all those sports opinions that I just don't have. Like, I can't do it.
And I mean this with like all respect and admiration, and I really am impressed by him and Mazz and Murray and Jay Stu, that they can take a topic and someone will say, "Oh, beat it to death." No. For an audience that is turning over for the most part every 20 to 30 minutes and reiterating not only the subject matter but infusing the same passion over and over and over again. It's a different time slot. It's a different way of approaching radio that they do better than anyone I've ever heard do it. And I couldn't do it. I would constantly find myself saying, well, it's like I said before, which they don't say.
Right.
Because who cares if you said it before? I'm listening for the very first time right now. So what is your opinion on the Jerod Mayo firing? And they just
even if I tell you guys
skill
something
that I don't possess.
If I've told you a story in my life off air, I still have the habit of going, I do it constantly and I'm aware of it. I've told you guys this before, or I've said this before.
Right.
Like, because I think someone's going to wave their finger and go, I've heard this before.
Right.
As if anyone cares.
We're allowed to do the trademarked material.
I would think. I mean, if that's how they want it done.
It's all going to be hashed out.
Yeah.
Is it proprietary? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Are we allowed to do Shooting the Breeze?
Nick, are you going to be here? Give him an acoustic guitar and have him do the Mark Davis song. Please. And make him sit here and look at it without knowing it was going to happen.
Tell Jay Stu or whoever's producing to carve out 6 minutes, though. It's not your typical 90-second song parody.
And then have two of the guys on the show just sitting there going, oh, no. I didn't know this was happening.
It's one of the top two uncomfortable moments of my tenure.
That's the most uncomfortable I've ever been on
That's right there.
And that's a good joke, so I stand by it.
I don't know.
Are we still like, what is it?
Yeah, because they put the show on YouTube.
YouTube Live.
Yeah, all right.
I'll do whatever is done.
Whatever they want. Then
Tell me so. Like I don't get to listen as much because in the morning.
Yeah. You don't like the show.
No, but he says like the entire first segment when they're just like kind of talking about what happened last night before they get to what happened last night. He knows the names of the segments.
Okay, so anyway, I just want them to read the YouTube comments. That's all I want. I want them to see, again, the vitriol and hate that is directed towards...
A new record this morning, 6:03 a.m.
Yeah.
I logged on, and I logged off and will not be logging back 6:03 a.m.
Because there is no hate like a male, and I'm not going to get in. We did it yesterday, but I just did what we said. A male-oriented morning show in a northeastern market gets such vitriol and hate unseen by any other medium. Like, you forget about like political opinionists, everything else. I mean, just vicious hate.
And it wasn't even directed at me. I saw one thing. I'm like, you jackass, and that was it. Close the window, not to be reopened.
Working late, probably 9 o'clock hour. They wrap up the email bit. They do.
Well, so the emails I know, and shooting the breeze I know, and the stack,
which is everything that you missed.
Right. Like I usually get to the ends of their show, not the beginning.
The beginning of the show is not like, especially that first segment. It's just them bullshit. It's not sports. It's just they're easing into that clock hour. Then
clearing their throat.
Recap of last night.
So
back.
So right. It's 6 o'clock. We kind of clear our throat. Just give it a little bit. Shoot the breeze on our own. And then at 6:20, don't they do like what happened last night?
Yep.
Or that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll usually take them to 7, as I know. And then, it feels like to me like 7 and 8 can sometimes be football season. So that being the Monday,
who do they talk to on Mondays?
Who do they talk to on Mondays?
Let's get them on.
All right. Yeah.
Let's do their guests. Let's do some of their bits. And let's do it.
All right. I'm for it. However the show format's going to be.
I'm looking forward to it. Felger and Mazz Monday.
I will be there. I will be cranky. Ungodly hour.
Well, that should be fun.
Yeah. By the way, that's what we do from 6 to 6:20. We kibitz. That's what we do.
It's essentially kibitzing. I don't give them problems for that. But
what it is kind of a reverse Michigas. Because I believe Michigan used to take place at the end of the show.
That's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. I mean, you got Siegel, and it was jazz. Siegel and La Quadera, it was the White Album and Sgt. Pepper and Exile on Main Street, all mismatched. It was them going back and forth. Glasscock was a character. He'd come in on the weekends like a moron and do it for fun.
But that should be good. So a week from Monday, Felger and Mazz on in the morning. Maybe we'll set like a record for the morning show ratings or something like that. Unfortunately, it's a holiday, but there you go. All right. Our friend Mr. Dussault will be joining us. He's good friends with Hardy. He's a fan of Jaws. Very, very big fan of Jaws.
Can we set aside time for one Jaws trivia question?
We absolutely can.
Is he good for the sequels as well, or just the main one?
But Jill, let's stick to the main one.
But it is funny to me that someone's favorite thing is something that is like a 2-hour thing. Like it just is 2 hours and it will never get longer. But that's their favorite thing. I don't think it's bad. I think it's great. But it's like you could memorize the movie if you wanted to. You could memorize 2 hours of dialogue. I want you to ask him something about how it all came about.
Okay.
Or how they did something more than something that happened in the movie.
Okay. I'll come up with something.
Yeah, you come up with something. You do that. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment.
safety and came to work every single day with incredible
Season is over. The Patriots Unfiltered and all the other shows you guys are doing there. What's going on, Deuce?
I know, Hardy. That hits home for me because it felt like, the season is dead. Long live the season. There was no off season. It was about, we were in the middle of the post game show when they announced Mayo was gone. So yeah, I feel that right now. There was no off season. We're right back into it.
Do you still report to Gillette Stadium? Is that where you are now? You there early in the morning?
Oh, of course. Again, first one in, last. What was it? First one in, last one out. I'd say.
Sure. No. Do you have the parking spot?
Oh, you mean the parking spot that was like a mile from the stadium? Yeah, that's the one I got.
No. I went back and listened to because I'd gotten in the habit of listening and watching the post game like right afterward, but I hadn't for this last game of the year. I'm like, I'm going to give myself a break. It's all over now. So I wasn't watching and listening when the news came down, and I immediately went online to see what you guys were saying, but I wasn't able to back it up because I wanted to find the moment when the news broke. So I did go back and watch it, and you didn't seem all that shocked. It was Matt Smith that kind of like broke the news during the postgame show on Sunday, but I think there was enough swirling around in the pregame and in the days leading up to it to where it didn't completely catch you off guard.
Yeah, well, the Schefter report in the morning, I think, put everybody's radar up a little bit. And, it was bizarre because you went from, I don't know, maybe an hour of people who were apoplectic about losing the first pick to all of a sudden then the conversation completely changed. So, yeah, I was still surprised that it happened that quick. But, it did seem like the writing was on the wall after that last month as we see more of these reports coming out of what was really going on.
How do you think things were handled by Robert Kraft in that initial press conference afterward?
Well, I thought they were decisive. I mean, look, I think the fans wanted to know that the product wasn't acceptable to ownership, just like it wasn't acceptable to them. So I think, not waiting around, not dragging your feet at all, making it quick. I thought it sent a good, decisive message. And, now we're into the process, but we'll see how it all plays out. But I think I liked how they handled it initially out of the gate, just to, look, if the move's going to happen, you don't need to make the guy go out and do a press conference the next day or anything like that. Just, get it out there, move on, and start the coaching search.
Okay, so did you always think this hiring was a mistake? Not that Mayo could never be a head coach, but just it was all half measures. Everything they did, the assistants, the roster, his experience, the amount of backup that he had, and people to help guide him. It was all half measures.
I mean, it was a leap of faith. I mean, Jerod had never really coached a team before. And I think, everybody saw in Jerod what a, leader he is. And, he just has a magnetism and he's a good guy. And, everybody seems to like him. And, I think that was a big part of the appeal. But unfortunately, he, didn't have a lot of experience across the league. So I think rounding
it's
out
more than that. It's more than that, Mike. I'm not even. I know he has no experience. What I'm saying is they surrounded him with coordinators with no experience. Offensive line coaches with no experience. It's a rookie front office. As you know, we've talked about this. The way the organization is structured is antiquated. They don't operate like the other teams in the NFL. Like all of this for a guy like Mayo, in my opinion, he did not have a chance to succeed. There was no way he was going to succeed.
Yeah, I know. I think he was put in a really hard spot. I think everything you said is right. There wasn't a lot of experience around him, and it was, kind of a Frankenstein thrown together staff where, you had a lot of first-time guys. You did have a couple guys with some experience that, the special teams assistant and the tight ends coach, guys that have been around the league. But they're, like you said, a lot of the guys that were in the big positions were first-time play callers. And, I think you saw the growing pains immediately out of the gate. So it just never came together the way that it should have. And, I've always liked, having a team that has a lot of experience as well as, some of that new energy and that new blood, which I think they did. But ultimately, it just felt like you were still kind of half in the Belichick mode and you were half in the moving on mode. And I think that's where they got caught, kind of like Mr. Miyagi. They got caught in the center of the highway and got squished like a grape.
Whoa. What happened to Mr. Miyagi? Is that the real Pat Morita?
It's right side of the road. Yeah. Left side.
Do or not do?
Okay. Middle of the road. Squash like grape.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you meant Pat Morita maybe when he owned Al's. that when Fonzie jumped the fried chicken stand, he slid into Pat Morita and died. He died on the highway.
Well, it became Arnold's.
Right.
No, it wasn't Arnold's it was Arnold's with Pat when Pat Marino.
Oh, it was. Forgive me, Fred, and don't give me that look. I see you and I feel you judging me. Arnold came before Al?
No, Arnold, the character, came after Pat Morita, but Pat Morita, I believe.
No, Pat Morita is Arnold.
Yeah, I know. I think the joke was it was called Arnold's, but he wasn't Arnold.
Whoa.
You guys talk to Mike. I'll do a deep.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's good. That's good.
Go ahead, Wallach.
All right. The coaching search, as it stands right now, I'm having a hard time believing that any of it is real other than what's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that the Patriots really are going to speak to Ben Johnson? Is there any way that they're actually going to speak to Aaron Glenn, who has 5 other interviews and a 48-hour window this week to talk to those 5 teams? You're not going to speak to Aaron Glenn until the Detroit Lions are eliminated from the playoffs. It just feels like they hurried through the first 2 to get rid of the Rooney Rule. They scheduled these next 2 simply as leverage against Mike Vrabel. Can you convince me otherwise?
I don't know if I could convince you otherwise. I mean, and look, and I say this as somebody who back in 2018, I wanted Mike Vrabel to be the guy that replaced Belichick all along. So you might be speaking to the wrong guy, but I think they need. I hope that they do that though, John. Like I hope they do interview those guys. I think part of the thing last year was trying to get more input, try to get more perspectives on things. And look, I don't necessarily consider Mike Vrabel part of the the Belichick coaching tree. Certainly he was here as a player and knows how to win and what championship teams look like. But I think you've got to really get a cross section. I hope that they know Mike Vrabel, they have a sense of what he's going to bring. And I mean, look, it's also just part of how this cycle is lining up. Mike Vrabel's such a unique candidate to the Patriots. He's was here as a player. He's coached before. Everybody knows that he's the one guy that if he comes in, he's going to have a system. He's going to know what he wants to do. He's going to know coaches. He's been in Cleveland now. He's got all the things that, I don't really buy they're hurrying through it like they did with Mayo. I mean, Mayo had no experience. And, you're going to make a leap of faith if you went with Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn or one of those guys. But I think you've got to kick the tires on them. You've got to meet them. You've got to see what their visions are because maybe they blow you away. But I think you're ultimately going to be right. Mike Vrabel is just too good of a fit, and I don't think that they want to lose him. So I think they're trying their best to move as fast as they can. But I do hope that they do make those other interviews and really get a full sense of what's out there.
I wouldn't. I mean, they rushed those two interviews that they had to do with minorities, the Rooney Rule ones.
Bad.
So I'm not positive.
Bad.
I'm not positive how many more people they're interviewing. But I will ask you this. People, not I, but people have been saying, oh, Vrabel's another guy from the Belichick coaching tree. What is your opinion on that?
No, I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
I think what I like about Mike Vrabel is that he wasn't really one to talk about it. He's just one to be about it. And like we talk about the Patriot way, and I know he's even made comments about like, what is that? Like, that's just how he is. That's what I like about him. He was never one of these guys like preaching we're holier. He's just a football guy who went out there, caught touchdowns, made sacks, made big plays. So, but then he went on. And I mean, Belichick sent him to Kansas City, in 2009. I think we were all a little surprised when that move happened. But even, retroactively, you've heard Vrabel say that was really big for me in my career to get out of New England and, be able to get some experience in other places. So, I mean, then you're talking about Ohio State and Houston. And so I think I like that he's been a part of what Bill Belichick did and he saw how that system ran, but he's also seen plenty of other places and how they've run. He's developed his own philosophies. He's got his own contacts. So I think, in my mind, look, and I love Mike Vrabel. He's always one of my favorite guys on the team, but I think he's a guy that's going to bring in his own style with just enough of that connection to the past that, fans know who he is. They know he knows how to win. And like, how can you not love the guy? I mean, he's just one of those players that's tough, hard-nosed, made the big plays whenever they had to come. And, I think last year when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, it really just reminded people, what a special guy he was. And look, if it's Mike Vrabel at the end of the day, I think, will we kick and scream a little bit about the process? Probably. But at the end of the day, I can't say that he's not the right guy. I think he definitely might be that right guy.
2 quick things, Mike, before we get to the Jaws trivia. What's the percentage chance that Elliot Wolf stays on as GM? Let's say Mike Vrabel gets the head coaching job today or tomorrow. Come springtime, Elliot Wolf is still the GM of the team.
Yeah, really good question. I mean, look, I don't know about GM. I mean, I think there's some wiggle room in there with, him being the EVP of personnel. So, I mean, I think that was something that came out with Phil Perry that after Robert spoke was, keeping the door open. I just don't know how much of a chance that Elliott Wolf really had to implement his system. So, look, I know last year wasn't great for him, and certainly the free agency, the draft, other than Drake May, there's a lot of things you can point to. I think ultimately it's going to be up to Mike Vrabel. I wouldn't necessarily kick Elliott Wolf out the door just yet, but I think it's going to really depend on, what Vrabel's vision is and what he wants to do. And I think that's really ultimately how it should be. But I still do really like Elliott Wolf. I think he's got a lot of good experience. And, I do think he's one guy that maybe deserves a little bit more of a chance, but we'll see. It's going to be up to Vrabel.
All right, everyone shut up.
Or whoever.
In 1948, Arnold Jackson needed some money, so he opened a drive-in named Jackson's. In the first year, it did pretty badly until 1949 when it rebranded to Arnold's Drive-In and became more teen-oriented. In 1953, Richie Cunningham and Patsy Weber visited the place for the first time, where it would then become the regular hangout. Around 1954, however, the place started being overrun by gangs, such as the Falcons, led by Monk, the Gems, led by Ralph Malph, and the Demons, which I named my elementary school gang, led by Bag Zombrowski, because of his famous move, and others. So Arnold left the place and sold it to Matsuo Takanashi. But there was one problem with Matsuo. There was a big sign out front reading Arnold's, so he didn't want to pay for a sign reading Takahashi's, so he legally changed his name to Arnold Takahashi.
There we go.
Arnold Takahashi continued to own the place until he got married to move to Japan in 1957. Arnold sold it to Alfred Del Vecchio, who owned the place until it burned down. When it burned down, Chachi burned it down. Al partnered with Fonzie. They opened up Arnold's. The new Arnold's was there until it got demolished in 1966.
But they blamed Styx, even though it was Chachi, because, just of the era.
Well,
who are you going to blame?
When Styx came in, Fonzie said, I got you guys dates for prom.
Yeah.
And it's two girls and Fonzie. And then Styx walks in, and the girl passes out when she sees him. Because he's black.
All right, Deuce, 30 seconds here. 2 trivia questions. Fred wanted me to give you a production question, but I have an actual content question. The content question first. I'm going to trip you up on both of these this week. Number one, during the famous Quint speech about the USS Indianapolis, he says, I bumped into a friend of mine. What was the friend's name and where was he from?
Oh, my God. Oh, God. That's a good one. I thought you were going to ask me who wrote the speech. I would have had that one, but you got me, Hardy.
Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Herbie Robinson from Cleveland. And what did he do, Deuce?
Was he dead in the water?
He was a baseball player. Terrible job.
Jeez.
Got me.
All right, let's do this, Mike, to do this. Who was the leader of the gang, the Gems, that hung out at Arnold's?
Yeah, you just said
see my Happy Days knowledge is nowhere near my Jaws knowledge, but I appreciate the deep dive into the lore.
But I just said it.
It was Ralph Malph.
Ralph Malph.
Good job, guys. You know what? You guys still got it.
Okay, all right, very quickly, Deuce. What actor, this is a trick question because it was in a cameo role, what actor got kicked off the set because he kept complaining about the ending of the film?
Oh, it's got to be Peter Benchley.
Oh, very good.
There it is.
Boom!
What was the one-hit song by the group Cameo?
Cameo. I'm gonna know.
How can you not know this?
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus,
Cameo.
Mike, you're really
I don't
embarrassing
know.
yourself.
Wow.
The answer is word up. All right.
It's the
very
code
good.
word.
Word up.
It's too late. All right, very good.
Right.
Mike Dussault, everyone loves him, and you can find him at Patriots.com. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so we'll return. Here are the headlines. For that show coming up at the end of this segment. Andrew Callahan has a big article with Doug Kyde about the goings-on with the Jerod Mayo situation. Some of the people in the organization are pointing at ownership. There's quotes like, I think in the end, this is from a staffer, I think in the end a lot of NFL comes down to the decisions of 80 whatever-year-old men who really don't know what's happening from a football perspective. There's no board to answer to or anything. We're in a unique business, which when you look at the coaching search, if it's just going to be Vrabel, then it's just going to be Vrabel. But, like, filling out that organization, I'd hate to point to a really bad organization and say I kind of like what they're doing better, but at least the Jets, Woody Johnson hired an independent, like, search firm to help with the coaching search and GM search.
So this is a great point, Fred. And the follow-up statement in this,
they know it. Essentially, the Crafts don't know how to run or have been too arrogant to know how to run a franchise in 2025. They're just not designed the same way as other franchises. They are operating like when Belichick first got there, by all accounts. I know they've tweaked some things like scouting and stuff like that, but there's an awful lot of work to do. They got a lot of people to hire, a lot of things to adopt, like analytics. They got a lot of stuff they got to do.
The thing about the Callahan piece that struck me is that there was no one left out. You know, they had Andrew and Doug listed things that everybody did wrong. Like it's simple as running laps when you commit a penalty during training camp. You know, Mayo started doing that, and then by the end of training camp, people were still committing penalties and didn't have to run laps. Or
that was the inconsistency.
That's the beginning of it. But he also talks about Elliot Wolf, and who apparently, according to this piece, works well with others, but is hesitant to put his foot down and say, "This is what we're doing."
Fine, but that's a first-year GM. None of this seems overly damning. The thing about the penalties,
when you put it all together,
he goes, but then the team was 14th in penalties. All right, well, they were in the middle of the pack in penalties. Someone's got to be 14th. They weren't 32nd in penalties. I mean, or whatever.
But it's just being consistent. That's what stuck out to me.
I understand that, but it was funny because he's like, every time they commit, maybe he realized, if every time in practice, if we're running 150 plays in practice, if every time there's a penalty and make them run, they're going to die. Like, there's things like you got to give the guy like he didn't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're committing like an awful lot of penalties. I mean, we've all done that. You like when you implement something and then you got to tweak it. Some of this stuff is just learning and evolving, like learning from your mistakes. A lot of the critiques of Mayo that I've been reading, none of it seems overly damning, and a lot of it just seems like, yeah, you haven't done it before. You got to learn how to do it.
Okay, how about this one? This one stood out to me too in this piece that dropped in the Herald this morning. Again, I'll give them credit, Callahan and Kai. They did a lot of work on this. On December 28th, Ramondre Stevenson trotted into the huddle for the Patriots' first possession in their final home game of 2024. Puzzled fan base looked on. In the lead up to kickoff, Mayo had told the national television broadcast and the Patriots' local radio team Stevenson would be benched after fumbling 7 times. According to sources, Mayo had told offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt to sit Stevenson shortly before the game, but that order, which was supposed to be relayed to running backs coach Taylor Embry, failed to reach Stevenson. So the head coach tells the world, Ramondre Stevenson is benched. He tells his offensive coordinator, who doesn't tell the running backs coach, who therefore never tells Ramondre, so he goes out on the field.
And I want to know how that's Mayo's fault, though. Like, Mayo's got a whole team to run.
Organizational rot.
Exactly. Like, your coaches have to be able to communicate with each other. We knew Jerod Mayo wasn't going to work with the offense very much, nor should he. If you guys had a choice, Mayo's going to be intimately involved with the offensive preparation.
Well, then that's Matt Patricia all over again.
And maybe it's semantics, organizational rot. That really, really stings. How about organizational dysfunction? That's organizational dysfunction.
The thing that would concern me as a Patriots fan is not that they set up Mayo to fail and Mayo ultimately failed. It's that they've been stubborn or ignorant on how to run a franchise without Bill Belichick, or even with Bill Belichick at the end. And the NFL, as you would imagine, in half of my lifetime, has evolved into something much bigger and more difficult, requiring more manpower and resources. People have adapted, computer analytic. I keep saying analytic research, but they've analytic research. They're building new facilities, but their facilities were antiquated. Like, everything about the organization was antiquated because Belichick didn't tell them anything. I'd like to think that the Crafts were just ignorant to how far behind they were, because how do they know?
That's because Bill did everything. But that's the other thing this piece really underscores is that short of them hiring Mike Vrabel and Vrabel being perfect in hiring everybody else under him, they have such a long way to go.
Yes.
I mean, it is really underscored here that they have problems everywhere.
Yeah,
there's not one thing you can look at and go, well, at least that's good.
Yeah, it's a circus right now. It's a circus. And it's going to take some time. They're not going to flip this roster in 1 year. Louth is all running around thinking that they could win 10 games next year.
Jim Louth? is bullish on the Patriots?
Yeah, it's strange. I would take his investing advice if they were publicly traded. Caller number, sure. Now's the time to buy. Well, it's saying, no. Let it drop at least 75% before you start thinking of selling. Caller number 10 in the contest line, 617-931-0985 will score a pair of general admission plus wristbands for the day of their choice for Boston Calling and automatically be entered to be upgraded to VIP. Will it be Friday featuring Luke Combs, Saturday with Fall Out Boy, or Sunday closing it out with the DMB, Dave Matthews Band? Visit bostoncalling.com for full lineup and tickets. If you didn't win today, we're giving you another chance over at 985thesportshub.com. We'll be right back. Joe Murray is a superstar, and we have more audio from his show.
Stay tuned.
Ernest, over the next couple of days, Mike Vrabel is due in Foxborough today to talk about the job, and then Robert and Jonathan Kraft are expected to virtually meet with Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson tomorrow. Johnson will also speak to the Chicago Bears today. Also, the Krafts yesterday reportedly submitted a request to speak to Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. In other NFL news, multiple teams have reportedly reached out to Bill Belichick to see if he'd be interested in coaching at the pro level again. He said to all of them he's happy at North Carolina. Also, the Las Vegas Review-Journal is reporting Tom Brady and the Raiders spoke to him, but the sense is it was only to get an idea of what to ask candidates for their vacancy, not to pitch the actual job. New Orleans and Chicago had requested to speak to Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. The Bruins will try to snap a 5-game losing streak tonight when they visit Tampa Bay. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Also, the NHL announced yesterday a pair of outdoor games next season, and that includes those two teams, the Bruins and the Lightning. They'll play February 1st, 2026 at Raymond James Stadium, the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in college football news, the national semifinals begin tonight. It's the Orange Bowl between Penn State and Notre Dame. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rodenheiser Home Services and their expert remodel team. Schedule a free consultation today to redefine your space. Rodenheiser.com/remodel. Rodenheiser Home Services. Nice people, great service since 1928. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Boston plays here.
He got it! He did it again!
98.5 The Sports Hub.
You said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
A lot of food.
Oh my God.
The food, the good food that I had.
Oh.
Super. Super.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. You can simply search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and then subscribe, and you'll get all our keen information that everyone loves. All right, Joe Murray is an absolute superstar. From when he was on part-time to when he started at night. His show is essentially just sounds like a bunch of his friends calling in and talking about anything, which is what makes it great. If you're going to do a night show, you can't be just sports. You really can't. Middays and afternoons, you can go just sports. Mornings and nights, you cannot do just sports. You have to.
Okay.
Like a 5-hour shift. It doesn't matter. 4 or 5 hour shift when, there's people that are wasted listening. You got to take advantage of that. You got to let people stretch their legs a little bit. But Joe loves food. If you didn't know, the noises that we played at the beginning of this are him not having an orgasm, because that would be overly dramatic for even an orgasm.
Oh my God.
It's him trying food. And Joe, as we've learned, before he'll go to an event or something, will have to scout the bathrooms, because depending on what he eats, he doesn't have IBF or anything, or IBS.
Oh, I don't know if I want to use the bathroom at a hockey game.
Yeah, he has to know that he might get vicious diarrhea if he eats the wrong thing.
Yeah!
He won't eat vegetables. He will not eat lettuce, even on a sandwich or on a hamburger. He will not have any of it. And here's our friend Joe Murray.
But first,
this is this or that.
This is in or out.
In or out. Okay. I love the bed they play, by the way, for this.
But first, we will play the game of In or Out, curated by one James Scaramazino, that we call Skaz, not Skags.
Scaramazino? Did Fonzie date his sister? He had the Scaramazino twins.
The bed, by the way, is Incubus, Fred. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, but that might be Incubus, but that ain't an Incubus song. I'm going to hand it to that guy we were talking about why this song sucks. That we'll find out
Pat
what
Finnerty,
they stole
yeah.
from that, because that sounds like the Streets of New York sort of by Cool G Rap and
DJ Polo.
and DJ Polo, which is one of the great rap songs of all time, and how we used to end the show every day.
But first, we will play the game of In or Out, curated by one James Scaramazino, that we call Skaz, not Skags. Who called you Skags when we did the thank yous?
Me.
Probably Fred. I think it was Fred.
It was Fred, yeah. I felt like it was a joke, though, because other people have called you Skags.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it was no joke. I thought it was Skags.
Skags.
I mean, Skags. My bad. So much difference.
So let's start out In or Out, Skaz.
All right, Joe, it's been a while, so we'll start where the people want us to start, Joe. We'll start with some food in or outs tonight.
Even the idea of it has got him cooking.
Start with some food.
In.
No, not yet. Not yet. We haven't started yet.
In.
Jesus.
Food in or outs tonight. We'll start with Cinemark, movie company. They're letting customers fill containers of their own choice with popcorn for $5 on January 19th to celebrate National Popcorn Day. So it is bring your own bucket. Any bucket you bring, you can fill with popcorn. Joe Murray, are you in or out on bring your own bucket to the movies?
In.
No. What? Why'd you even give me this if he's just going to be off brand so much?
On bring your own bucket to the movies.
In. Oh my God! I'd bring what do I have that's a big bucket? I'll have to think about that. But could I bring a Darth Vader helmet? I'm not a
Think like one of those Lowe's or
No, no, that's over the line. No, you can't.
There's going to be people at the door of the Cinemark theater saying, technically, that's not a bucket. You can't bring that in here.
I mean, if it was a Stormtrooper helmet, but the Vader helmet?
No.
I mean, there's kids here. What a random thing to say. Can I bring a Darth
Could I
Vader?
bring a Darth Vader helmet?
Yeah, that is weird. Of
why
all
is
the
that the
things
thing?
that you could, yeah.
And how is that any bigger than a popcorn bucket?
It's not.
It's not.
And how many times have you gotten popcorn and said, this is far too little popcorn? If you get a large popcorn, there's no way that's going away.
There's a period of time where you said, okay, I'm just tired of eating this or chewing.
About a third of the way
Yeah,
down.
I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
It's not really filling me up. I'm just eating.
Right.
I'm done.
Or this salt is becoming so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I will, if you got a small, I get it. Or even a medium if you're really hungry with a friend. If you get a large popcorn, you could be at the movies with 20 people. First of all, you get sick because everyone's hands in there.
I'll have to think about that. But could I bring
everyone's hands in there? Don't wash your hands after you wipe.
Oh, my.
Is the toilet paper thin? Did your finger poke through?
Oh, man.
Huh? Gobble, gobble.
Oh, you've made a mess.
Oh, it's staining the popcorn.
That's not chocolate.
I'll have some, please pass.
In.
The only problem with Diner is he didn't relieve himself in the bucket.
Okay.
Huh? Why is this popcorn soggy?
I'm not indulging you.
See, he was aroused. He put himself in the bucket.
I understand.
That's not enough, though. One must relieve himself.
I'll have to think about that. But could I bring a Darth Vader helmet? I'm not a
Think like one of those Lowe's or Home Depot buckets, like a 10-gallon bucket or something.
The one for cement?
Yeah.
Or you know what I'll bring? A water cooler. Yeah. Would you rather bucket or bag?
Bucket.
See, I'm a licker, so I lick the bag a little
Excuse
bit.
me?
Yes, I'm a sniffer and a licker. I'm a licker. I'm a sniffer, a water cooler, and a licker. In.
Why a water cooler? I mean, I know it's big, but
Listen,
if,
man.
if a Darth Vader helmet isn't a bucket, how's a water cooler a bucket?
I don't know.
Also not a bucket.
A water cooler is more of a bucket than a Darth Vader helmet. At least a water cooler is big. He's just thinking of big things with holes in it.
Just a lot of things wrong here. A lot of
Big things with holes in
just
it.
wrong.
Make a joke.
Nope.
bucket.
See, I'm a licker, so I lick the bag a little
Excuse
bit.
me?
Yes, I'm a sniffer and a licker. But please tell me you've ate popcorn with your tongue.
Way to go, Skaz, to explore that further. Way to just let that sit.
You lick the bag?
So what I'm guessing is he sticks his tongue in the popcorn and picks, like when it's full, and picks the tongue up with his popcorn, I guess is a liquor. I don't know why. I know why he sniffs. It's like a guy, a sommelier with wine. He has to find out what region the chicken wings came from, the tomahawk steak, what kind of cow it came from.
See, I'm a licker. Yes, I'm a sniffer and a licker.
Ladies, again, if I could give you the five of you that listen, if you could please find something to sit on, because you're going to make a mess while you listen to this. Joe Murray will kiss you where some brothers won't. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I think I eat most things with my tongue.
No, but I mean,
Joe.
you like a frog. A frog just uses its tongue to... In!
All right, Joe, we'll stick with food. Oreo is re-releasing the Oreo-flavored Oreo. Yes, it's an Oreo cookie with Oreos as the filling. Joe Murray, are you in or out?
Okay, I'm going to guess he's out.
Why?
And I'm gonna, no, I am.
Why? Why is he out?
Because he likes the separation and that there will be some kind of thing about how he manipulates the centers of Oreos to make one super Oreo.
I can see that.
You've heard this.
I swear to you I have not.
Makes
I'm
sense.
telling you that he's not going to like an Oreo because of the elaborate things he does with existing Oreos.
This is a really definitive statement by Fred. I'm with you, Hardy. He must have heard something about this.
Yeah, that's what I want to do for the show, is start listening to stuff and then sounding smart.
With Oreos as the filling. Joe Murray, are you in or out?
I think it's called Oreo Loaded, right? Is that what
That
they
is
call
it. You are correct, sir.
In.
My bad.
Oh.
This thing's good.
And
Now,
you named it.
Sometimes I take 2 double stuffs, and I take the top off of both of them, Joe. I don't know if you ever done this. Smack them together.
You're a quad stuffer.
Yeah, it's a quad. It's almost like a whoopie pie. It's a whoopie, right?
What size is Skaz? How big a boy is he?
He's not very big.
Yeah, what if like a year from now he's like 500 pounds? This influence is just, he's like, all this talk of he's discovering all these foods. It's like if you're like a runner for a crack dealer and all of a sudden you start smoking your own product.
Yeah.
I did it all for the whoopie.
Oh, no.
I did it all for the whoopie.
What?
He says it's like a whoopie pie.
It's almost like a whoopie pie. It's a whoopie, right? I did it all for the whoopie. And come on now.
All right, Joe, sticking with food, are you in or out on the KFC spinoff restaurant Saucy, focused on tenders and sauces?
That's a big yes.
Absolutely.
And he's
yes.
gonna, will he name check Cane's?
Oh.
Because that's why they're doing it. They're stealing Cane's idea, which is what every kid lives for. Have your kids had Cane's?
Oh, yeah.
My kids want to go. We have not
Cane's.
been yet.
Yeah,
No,
there's
they
one in
kids
the
wanna
city
go.
that
Yeah.
my son will take the train to go to.
Yep.
And then when we were in South Carolina for a baseball tournament, they ate Cane's every meal.
So there was when my daughter and I went to Michigan for our friend's baseball tournament this past summer. In between games or after the tournament games, there was a Cane's right there on Grand River in East Lansing. So let's go to Cane's and grab some lunch. We were the only ones with that idea. There had to have been 200 people shoved into a place that was supposed to hold no more than 50 because every one of those high school baseball players wanted Cane's.
When we were driving from Nashville to Knoxville because of the flight thing happening, my kids saw Cane's off the freeway about halfway there. We pulled off to Cane's, and I finally had it. I have no idea what people are talking about.
They love it.
It's just like whatever. It's
good.
not bad. It's not good. It's just nothing.
On the KFC spinoff restaurant Saucy, focused on tenders and sauces.
And now, let's talk about some of the sauces. There's the chimichurri ranch, the peri peri ranch, the jalapeno pesto ranch. That's a lot of ranches. The Thai sweet and spicy. The barbecue sweet and saucy. The saucy sauce. What's the saucy sauce? The hot honey watermelon refresher.
No wonder it smells. No wonder it smells in here.
Whoa.
That's a guy that's been.
That's a guy who's leaving a mark.
That's a guy who's been bound up for a month. Finally,
Yeah.
that's like peeing after you've been trapped in a car for 3 hours.
What's the saucy sauce?
This is Chewbacca. What Han Solo heard through the wall of
Did
the
you hear
Millennium
how-
Falcon with Chewbacca.
You rang.
It's Uncle Fester having an orgasm.
The blue raspberry freeze. And
all right. Well, he certainly likes food. There's no question about it. He was
Do you
in
know
on
how
everything.
immediately he jumped over all the sauces? He had done his homework on this one.
Yeah, I think he almost knew it was coming.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, I think that Skaz maybe gives him a rundown beforehand, so he's got an idea. I mean, you can't just improv like that.
I did it all for the whooping.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that doesn't come out of nowhere.
I did it all for the whooping. And the whooping. And so you can come on now. Smack them together. Smack them together. Smack them together. Smack them together.
You're a quad stuffer.
That's not orgasmic so much as that is going to the bathroom. Everything's locked all around town, and finally find like an open convenience store and say, "Do you have a bathroom?"
All right, man. I gotta let you go.
All right, thank you, Joe. Joe Murray, baby. Every night he comes on at 6 o'clock. Have fun with Joe Murray. Everyone loves him, and he certainly loves food. There's no question about it. Dave Richard is joining us. He is a fantasy football guy, but he watches every game of the NFL, every game of the season for every NFL team. He's literally the only person I know that does that. And I find it admirable. Just like Lockhart's dad used to watch every Red Sox game. Like, I always thought that was an amazing thing to commit to that.
Well, Wallach used to, too.
I used to.
Wallach watches every Celtics game unless it's
Yeah.
a West Coast game, and then he gets off his perch and has to snooze. Or if he gets preoccupied with the mirror. Or he gets lost in
He didn't
reading
get off the
news.
perch. He just puts the blanket over.
Like a bird, mic down.
Or if he's standing on the newspaper and he gets caught up in the article.
Look at the bird, remember?
See, you're a bird. It's been a while. I don't know if we've called you a bird in the new year. 2025 bird jokes.
I don't remember.
2025 bird jokes. All right, Dave Richard will join us in just a moment.
I'm a sniffer. Oh.
like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flavor.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
It's important for me to want to know from Mike who his offensive coordinator is going to be and what his offensive philosophy is. I would love Mike to be the head coach here. I think he'd be a great culture setter. I just worry about what he's thinking on offense and how he sees the modern day
network, and he's kind enough, even though the fantasy season, you to join us. Dave, hello, sir.
We're having trouble getting audio from Dave, so I'm going to have you, we're going to get him on the phone. So just give us a minute to do that.
All right. So everyone knows that Hardy and I the weekend after this one, are going to Detroit to watch the Lions. They'll either be playing one of the wild card teams or the Rams. And the Rams-Vikings game on Monday very well might need to be moved to Arizona due to the California wildfires. My agency that represents me, not my agent. Hey, what's up, Dave? It is out there, and the guy, everyone parked their cars and then took the keys to their cars out when they got trapped, and then went away from their cars. So now there's like one road into where this guy lives, and it's all blocked with cars that have been left there. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
We got Dave.
And that's my lead into Dave. Hi, Dave. I already did all the plugs and everything. How are you?
I'm doing all right, but my mind is in California, just like everybody else's.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. I didn't even know what was going on until the guy told me. The guy whose house his wife and daughter got out of there, but everyone stopped their car in the middle of the road and then took the keys.
It's funny. They have a graphic on TV. They have guys walking the streets at houses that have burned down, and it says like 17,000 acres are burning, and it says 0% contained.
Did you see? Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's totally nuts. We've got family in Southern California. My wife has a cousin who got out of her house with the clothes on her back, and that's it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, just like it is absolutely harrowing what's going on out there. And, just my thoughts are out there and wondering, what can I do to help? There's literally nothing I can do. I feel powerless. I feel sad.
Well, the weird
it's kind
thing
of
is
trivial to talk about football right now.
Well, I mean, there's always something going on, and there's always things in this world that we can't control. But they knew if the winds were right that this was going to happen. They not in this particular case. They knew that if you talk to people out there, they knew that this was going to happen. You get the right wind going the right way with all these wildfires they've been having. That you can't stop it. Once it gets going, you can't stop it. But listen, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I hope it just doesn't happen again anywhere else on the planet. I hope we learn from this to the point where the next time anything where someone knows that this could happen, there are, preventative things they can do so that it doesn't, affect 17,000 acres like it is right now.
Yeah, I'm actually not positive there's much they can do. And then they couldn't put out the fires anyway because of all the cars, but there's 60-mile-an-hour winds and those embers flying around. I don't know if there's anything anyone can do, to prevent it entirely from happening.
Yeah.
There's just a tsunami or a tidal wave, right? You can't prevent it necessarily from happening. Like a hurricane, you can't prevent from happening. Just sometimes these things happen, and you don't know what to do. I'm sure it's some environmental crap that we're doing as a species, but there you go.
Probably has something to do with the bees.
All right, now you've just made triviality of it. Well, if they move the Rams game, at least they'll be in an area with no bees, Phoenix. All right, who is winning the Super Bowl? Who's in the Super Bowl? I'm going to ask you that. Who do you think's in the Super Bowl?
I still think Philadelphia, and it looks like Jalen Hurts is back at practice. I think they've got the best overall team right now in the NFC. And I know that's not popular because the Lions, we just saw them throttle the Vikings on Sunday night, and their defense played really well, and their offense has been awesome. But I think Philadelphia kind of has that great combination of strong offense, an offense that can control the line of scrimmage, that can put points up, they can win in a number of ways, and a defense that I think is still capable of harassing a quarterback, playing good in the secondary. I happen to think that their first-round matchup is going to be a favorable one for them against Green Bay, and I think that they're probably the only team now in the NFC that could win a game at Detroit. So Philadelphia is my pick out of the NFC, and Baltimore is my pick out of the AFC for almost the exact same reasons. Their offense has been awesome all year long. I don't see that changing at all. And their defense, I think, is starting to peak now compared to earlier in the year where, I mean, they couldn't cover anybody. Remember when they lost to the Raiders in week 2? They were a mess early in the year, but they figured themselves out. They're also healthier along their defensive line. If I had to make a Super Bowl pick, it would be Baltimore over Philadelphia in a great Super Bowl.
I would agree with you with the Eagles. Well, the Eagles probably have the most talented roster in the NFL, I would say with you. But if the game was in Philadelphia, I would like the Eagles. They have an issue at quarterback and coach. I'm not sure that they have an advantage in coaching or an advantage
and
in
I would
quarterback.
I would also say just real quickly, Dave, just in terms of the Lions matchup, I think the Lions offense has proved that they can win in a variety of ways also. With David
Very
Montgomery
true.
on the way back, that even more so.
Yeah, watch it. So watch your stuff. And I heard a gambling guy say, if I told you that there was a team in terms of the Ravens with a coach who's won a Super Bowl, a 2-time MVP quarterback, and whatever statistically they are offensively, and they were a 6-1 shot to win the Super Bowl, you would say, what's the catch? I heard a gambling guy say that. So
very smart.
Yeah, like the Ravens thing, they have everything that you would think that you would need to win a Super Bowl. All right, what out of the wild card teams, or not even the wild card teams, but out of like the outside of the Eagles and the Ravens and the Bills, who do you look at and say, in the number 1 seeds, who do you look at and say there could be some upsets? This team is the most likely to shake things up a little bit.
The only team that I think could fill into that role, again, we're talking about a team that's got a good defense. They've shown some good things all year long, and they've got an offense that can win in different ways. It's the Chargers in L.A. I think Justin Herbert's been playing great ball really for like the last month or so. It looks like his offensive line is rounding into form. It's great that J.K. Dobbins came back. It gives them something in the run game. And I think they really tried hard last week. I think they knew that Ladd McConkey was a stud. I think they tried last week to force feed Quentin Johnston and force opposing defenses to prepare harder for him as they move forward. And that gives Justin Herbert even more options if Quentin Johnston is on his game. And so, like, I look at the other teams and I see holes in them. Even the Vikings, like, that's a team that, like, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I was very excited about them. But when Sam Darnold played like he did, I mean, he looked like Sam Darnold circa 2018 to 2022. He just did not look like himself. Missing throws. It makes me nervous that the next time he melts down, it could be this week against the Rams, that's it for Minnesota. Their season's over. And so I'm not going to say the Vikings are that team. I think the Chargers are that team, kind of an under-the-radar squad that might actually do a team a solid and beat one of the teams next week, take one of the top AFC contenders out, and then lose in the AFC Championship. I think it's possible that they do that.
That's interesting because, looking at the matchups, I would say there are 2 games that I would call the why bother games. And one of them I had identified was the Texans-Chargers game.
Sure.
And the other one was the Buccaneers-Commanders. And, yeah, I think both teams, all 4 of those teams have been impressive in some way. But you think the Chargers could not only get the win, I mean, it's a very close matchup anyway, but they would then take on the Chiefs and could maybe do some damage there.
Well, we don't know for sure that they're going to take on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
The Steelers somehow win, or the Broncos.
No, we know for sure. The Broncos aren't going to Buffalo and winning, and the Steelers aren't beating the Ravens in Baltimore.
I would tend to agree. I do think the Broncos will give Buffalo a game, though. It wouldn't surprise me if Josh Allen's got to pull a rabbit out of his hat in the fourth quarter just to make it interesting. But you look at the 2 games that the Chiefs and Chargers met in earlier this year, 17-10. Chiefs won, Chargers lost, and then 19-17 Chiefs won, Chargers lost. So they played them close in lowish scoring games both times. It leads me to believe that the Chargers can find a way. You've heard it before. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in the same year. It's especially hard to do it in the second round of the playoffs. So I think the Chargers could actually go into Kansas City and pull off that upset and do a solid for whoever wins that game next week between Baltimore and Buffalo, presuming that assuming that all the favorites, right? The Chargers are a favorite going into Houston. They're a 3-point favorite. So as long as all the favorites hold up, I think that that's the upset to watch in the second week of the playoffs, and I think the Chargers could do it.
Yeah, and so Hardy said the Buccaneers-Commanders game is a why bother game, but I've heard people like the Buccaneers to do some damage.
That's the game that I have the most trouble with this week because I could absolutely see the Commanders taking advantage of a Tampa defense that's really been beat up all year long. They haven't played well against the pass at all. Like we talked about the Ravens earlier this year, the Lions lately, last week notwithstanding, struggling against the pass. Well, Tampa's been bad against the pass all year. And Jaden Daniels has been awesome throwing the football. Their run game, it's basically gone. And that matches up with the weakness of Tampa's defense. So Jaden Daniels could have a monster game, not just running. He might run for 50-plus yards and lead the Commanders in rushing. That would surprise absolutely nobody. But he could also throw the ball very well and find a way to win. He's done that a bunch of times this year where he leads a late drive to help the Commanders pull off a dub. And so I'm not ready to say, like, Tampa's a 3-point favorite. I think I'd take the Commanders in the points, but I also just wouldn't feel comfortable taking it either way because I expect it to be a close game. But it's crazy. Do I expect who is more likely to make a mistake late? Is it Jaden Daniels, a rookie playing in his first playoff game, or is it Baker Mayfield, who we know has been great the past couple of years, but he's been prone to late game mistakes as well? I can't call that one. I think it's going to be a close one. So I might say that that's a why bother game when thinking long term, because I don't think either of these teams are making the Super Bowl. But I think it's going to be a fun game, and I think it's one that's going to be very tough to pick.
What if the Vikings beat the Rams? You don't think the Buccaneers could go into Minnesota and beat them?
I'm not sure. I'd like to see what or how the Vikings look in their win over the Rams, and it's very possible they can do it. It's a much different type of defense. It's a much different type of pass rush. I'm sure the offensive line will play better. I'm sure Sam Darnold will try to play calmer. But I don't know if that the Bucs defense going into Minnesota, yeah, they could harass Sam Darnold a little bit. They could get him off kilter, and that's probably going to be their key. But again, this is a bad pass defense in Tampa Bay. So even if Sam Darnold has to get the ball out just a little bit quicker, the efficiency might come after the catch for his wide receivers. Remember, Addison did nothing in that game against the Lions and really didn't get a ton of chances to do anything. He's a guy that could really make that offense explode, and he'll have his opportunities against the Rams.
All right, Dave, you already told us who you think the Super Bowl matchup might be, and one way of getting there would be to knock out that number one seed. How many teams would you pick to make the Super Bowl in the AFC before you get to the Chiefs?
It's three. It's the Ravens, it's the Bills, and then the Chiefs.
Okay.
You know, and look, I just said the Chargers could go into Kansas City and win. Heart of hearts, I would imagine that Kansas City could be, you know, a little bit better than the Chargers. I'll put it this way: if I'm getting like 6 points with the Chargers next week, presuming the Chargers beat the Texans, I'm all over that.
Oh, I understand. You're not in the matchup. You're not picking the Chargers outright, but
correct.
If you're saying where there could be an upset,
very difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
If there was an upset in the second round. And again, we're already crowning the Chargers over Houston, but I think that that's where I would go if I had to pick an upset. But I don't have to do that. But it's close between the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think that they're both very good. And I think it would be tough for the Chiefs to beat them that third time.
All right, and in terms of the Lions,
I was just going to ask him just hypothetically, who should a Lions fan be rooting for as a matchup in divisional weekend?
They are the biggest Green Bay Packers fans this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
That are imaginable. And then probably the Rams on top of that. You know, you don't want the Eagles or the Vikings. You don't want that third game against Minnesota, and you certainly don't want Philadelphia. And you definitely don't want both of them in consecutive weeks. And that's always a possibility.
I
if the
just
Bucs
don't
win.
I don't want Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua.
I don't want McVay.
I don't think Cooper Kupp's right now. I don't think he's playing fully healthy, and I'd be surprised if he breaks out. It's been a month of him looking like a 32-year-old receiver. Puka, I get, but it's also Matthew Stafford. I think that's a winnable game for Detroit.
Yeah.
Not to say Stafford sucks or anything like that, but I think that they can find a way to outscore L.A.
Okay, so not only are the Lions getting David Montgomery back, but the Zeitler, their guard, and Terry and Arnold's are going to play in the game, and they're getting possibly a couple more pieces back before the that Ennis Rakestraw, the cornerback that they lost. They're getting some members of the secondary back. So the Lions, the bye week is serving them well.
Yeah.
They are actually they lost their major defensive line pieces aren't coming back, but their secondary might be a little bit healthier than it's been in a long time.
Sure. But you couldn't tell. It looked like their defensive line looked great against Sam Darnold on Sunday night.
Yeah, Sam Darnold helped them a lot. And so did the Minnesota kicker. It seemed to be like, hey,
Darnold
I got
missed
money on the
how
game.
many wide open receivers did he miss?
He missed
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson was no fan of his. All right, look, Dave Richard, everyone loves you. Thank you so much for coming on throughout the playoffs. Follow him on Twitter at Dave Richard. You can find him Fantasy Football Today on YouTube, the Fantasy Football Today on CBS Sports Network. Everything's going on with Dave. Reach out. He always gets back to the fans of his. Thank you, Dave.
You got it, guys. Enjoy the games this weekend.
All right, thank you. As we know, Hardy is a man who suffers no fools. He is easily annoyed, and there is a stolen valor, something called stolen valor, he claims, is going on in his life, and we will discuss that in great detail coming right up.
Sports Hub headlines.
Patriots will have an in-person interview with a member of the team's Hall of Fame, Mike Vrabel, today as they continue their search for a new head coach. They have a virtual interview with Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson tomorrow and have submitted a request to speak to Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as well. The Bruins have lost 5 straight games. They had last night off, but they will visit the Tampa Bay Lightning this evening. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. But wait, there's more. The NHL announced a pair of outdoor games next season yesterday, and that includes the Bruins and the Lightning. They get together February 1st, 2026 at the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium. And in college football news, the national semifinals begin tonight. It's the Orange Bowl between Penn State and Notre Dame. Texas faces Ohio State tomorrow evening in the Cotton Bowl in the other semifinal. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Service Credit Union. They've teamed with Charlie McAvoy again this season for 73 reasons to defend New England's first responders. Visit servicecu.org/73. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9.
And let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
This is not Steve Vai.
No, it's Prince.
I was going to say it sounds like Prince. I don't know the song though.
He's noodling around a little bit. He's
It sounds like a Steve Vai solo album. Maybe
Yeah.
Flexible.
Ooh.
Which I had as a child.
So you listen to like Vai, Malmsteen, Eric Johnson, like you went through that phase?
Not Eric Johnson. And my grandmother and I walked one time to Harmony House. And I bought an Yngwie Malmsteen album because I'd read about him in Hit Parader. And I put it on. The cover was him slaying a dragon with fire coming from his guitar. And
How old were you?
I'm guessing 5th grade.
Oh, right in the demographic, right at the beginning of the demographic.
And I put it on and I went, this is absolute garbage. Like when I bought a Megadeth album when I was a kid, and because they were on MTV, and I went, oh, I guess everyone likes Megadeth. It might have been before I had MTV, and I just had never heard them, and I was just like, Megadeth, and I put it on and was like, this is absolutely atrocious. I didn't like Metallica when I was a kid, and I don't really like them now.
I didn't have an appreciation for them until I got older.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, but that's about it. And I like Dyer's Eve, the song. Dyer's Eve is a really good song, but other than that, I'm not a Metallica fan. All right, so Hardy is I describe him as he's like the dads in the suburban areas of Detroit. He's a Midwestern Anglo dad. He loves projects and golf. He is a family man, but he is easily annoyed. He suffers no fools. And Hardy, there's something that's been a bit of a pattern in your house that you're finding very annoying.
Well, this started a few weeks ago. It is my daughter is a senior, and there are some award ceremonies that take place throughout the year. So, a few weeks ago, during it was the National Honor Society night, and Marcy said something to the effect of, "Oh, I wonder if we should bring anything to the ceremony tonight." And I said, "What do you mean, like flowers?" And she said, "Yeah, or something." So I look online. I said, is it customary? What do you do? And yes, yellow flowers, yellow roses, yellow the color of the National Honor Society.
Pee.
So I went, and urine, of course. So I went out and I got a lovely arrangement of yellow roses and had them, bundled up at the florist. And we went to the ceremony. And walking into the school that night, I'm not going to carry the flowers. So Marcy carried the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And afterward, we met her out in the hallway, and Marcy handed her the flowers. And my daughter was just overcome. She was not expecting it. She's like, "Oh, thank you so much, Mommy." And it was a big salad moment. Like, hey, this was my doing.
Mm-hmm.
I did this. Mommy just handed over the okay, whatever.
So the big salad moment, of course, is the Seinfeld where George wants credit for when Elaine gave the big salad to the woman because George paid for it.
Correct.
Yes.
And not just the paying for it, the idea, the running around, the going to the floor. I don't want to do any of this stuff, but I did it.
You didn't want to go to the florist?
Wow.
Well, you really are a grump.
So last night, we have another one of these things to go to because there are subsections of NHS. All right? So it was the English National Honor Society last night. Smaller ceremony. I'm already automatically annoyed because we go to the library where we were told it is. It's not in the auditorium this time. It's at the library. Okay. We drive to the high school. We go to the library. The library is empty. We're walking all around. Is there another library in here? What's going on? And we're there at the appointed time. It's only a 20-minute ceremony. My wife is texting my daughter. No, she means the public library, like down the street.
Okay.
And I'm fuming. I'm like, we're going to be 15 minutes late for a 20-minute ceremony.
Why don't you call Adam?
And could the two of you, because our son was with us, could you walk slower also? As we're now trying to get out of that. I can't believe how slow these people walk in everyday life, much less when we're in a hurry. Okay?
Yep.
But prior to doing this, I said, you know what? I'm going to get flowers again this time, and I'm going to get a card.
Oh.
All right. So I did a different variety of yellow flowers this time. We are not only going to go to this ceremony, but afterward, we're going to go out to eat with my daughter and her friend, who I really like. She's a great kid. I like all my kids' friends, but, this is going to be a nice night. We find out her parents weren't able to attend. So I said to Marcy, I'm like, you know what? I haven't written anything in the card. Let's give the flowers to Katie, which Marcy gushes about. She's like, oh, she loved that so much. She still has them in her room. I'm like, oh, you mean the ones that I got that you handed her? She said, oh, she really adores those things. All right. I'm going to give her the flowers this time. But how about this? We'll give the card to her friend and we'll just sign it, like congratulations or whatever. Okay. After the ceremony, I hand the flowers to Katie this time. Marcy hands the card to her friend. Her friend, I thought, was going to start weeping at the gesture and how nice it was. And, oh, my God, thank you so much, Mrs. Poole, for thinking of me, and a hug and a kiss. And I'm like, here I am again.
Yeah.
Only reason why you have that card is because I picked it up when I was getting the flowers, and I thought of it. And I even said to Marcy as we're watching the ceremony, I'm like, hey, you better write something in that card, and hand it to her. All credit to Mommy. And it's just
does she demur and say that it was your idea?
Nope. And let me tell you something else.
Where's your hug and kiss?
It's just constant in my house. If my wife is going away for 3 hours, the kids are all mopey and despondent. I mentioned that I was going, or she mentioned to them that I was going away for the playoff weekend. I think they had a party in anticipation of the party that was going to take place when I was gone.
You feel like they don't respect you. They don't respect you, but they like have a greater affection for their mother in terms of like wanting to be with her.
Adore her mother,
right?
As most people in our lives do. Where I'm just Johnny Jackass. I'm on the pay no mind list for everything, and then the stolen valor twice now kind of brings it all home.
You should have signed the card.
And maybe that's and now you got to start
love Katie's dad.
Yeah.
Great job. This is from me.
When she graduates, you should do that. Or get divorced. You can give your own Christmas presents and really show off.
There's something to
see
aim
in
for.
my house. That's the opposite. I am the one that the roles are reversed.
I don't think I'll ever know that feeling. I will never.
It's a tremendous feeling.
I will never surpass Mommy as just the be all end all. Everything is about her and earning her approval and love and everything else.
That's exactly. I'm not being sarcastic. That's how it is in my house with me. Because
cherish it
because I withhold it so much. I don't want to make I just when you said your son was moving slowly, I wasn't going to say this on the air, but I will tell you the story. It's very quick. So I had a window yesterday that was letting in air, so I was in the car with Zoe, my daughter, who's 14. I needed her. She's in 8th grade. I needed her to roll up the window. Now, they're power windows, Adam. So she's sitting.
Adam, what that is, it's a button in a car that will automatically, mechanically raise and lower the window.
There's no handle.
Okay, so she's in the passenger seat of the car. The window controls are on the console in between the driver and passenger seat. I get out. I get out and I go, all right, roll up the window. She rolls it up. I go, roll it down. She rolls it down. She's looking at her phone. I go, hey, roll it up again. And she goes, nothing's happening. I go, Zoe, roll it up again. She goes, I'm rolling it up. She's looking at her phone. I go, oh my God, it's broken. I go in the car. I move the lever. The window's not broken. Zoe wasn't so lazy she couldn't raise a power window. She couldn't be bothered to raise. There's 4 mechanisms, and they're all within a half inch of each other. And she was too bothered to even look down to see what window it was.
Well, she was looking at her phone.
Exactly.
She was busy.
It's 12 degrees out. She's more than happy to have me out there. I was, and I am precious with this, with the way I know that if I say something to the kids, it like has a great effect. I'm very careful not to do it. But I was like, Zoe, I mean, you can't be this lazy. I mean, I go, there's a new rule. If I'm talking to you and instructing you to do something, you have to at least look away from your phone. I know it can't be not be in your hand, or it's like a heroin addict. Like you're gonna start flipping out and start, robbing purses and stuff. But you can have the phone in your hand, but just don't look at it. Just don't. A power window. She was too lazy. She goes, "What? I thought it was." I go, "You had rolled it. You just rolled it up. You felt around and you couldn't be bothered even to look down." So there is an age, and that's about how old your son is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's that age.
Yeah.
It's just this complete lethargy, or however you say it, lethargy.
Lethargy is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Phil Perry's going to join us. There's plenty to talk about. We'll have him in just a moment.
coach begins in earnest today when Team Hall of Famer Mike Vrabel comes to Foxborough for a sit-down. He is the overwhelming favorite to get the job. Tomorrow, the Kraft family will interview Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. The team has also reportedly requested a conversation with Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Bill Belichick, meanwhile, has reportedly been contacted by multiple NFL teams. Told them all he's happy in his current job at North Carolina. Las Vegas was one of those franchises, but the Las Vegas Review-Journal said this morning that minority owner Tom Brady contacted his former head coach to pick his brain about a coaching search and not to speak to him about the job. New Orleans and Chicago have reportedly requested to speak to Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. The Bruins are back from a night off. They will visit Tampa Bay tonight. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins have lost 5 in a row. The NHL announced yesterday a pair of outdoor games next season. That includes the Bruins and the Lightning on February 1st, 2026 at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. The Florida Panthers played the New York Rangers in Miami at the Marlins home ballpark as well. And in college football news, the national semifinals begin tonight. Penn State plays Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respect at Albrecht. Now 8 locations, including the all-new Subaru of Wakefield. Thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles, all at the right price at albrechtauto.com. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com. Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Well, the one thing that it gives me a little bit of pause with Mike is just, I'd like to know what his offensive philosophy is, because if you look at his time there in Tennessee, it really was kind of a more conservative offense, really highlighting the run game versus the passing game. And I don't know if that was because limitations at quarterback, but that's how he ran his offense. And so I just wonder, does he have the offensive mind to bring the Patriots in for the next 10 years, or considering where the offenses are going?
And you can win. You haven't much to lose.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube 24 hours a day. You can watch us live. And then you can drive Hardy away just 3 minutes into the show. I take it was about me, Hardy, that they were saying?
No, it was about the new Open.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Which happened to be very good. Congratulations.
Nick made a new
really
Open.
Good.
Nick made a great new Open
Very
for the
nice
show.
new Open.
I mean, Jesus Christ. I have the discipline not to look at that, and I have no discipline. I see what's going on in here. That thing's on a delay, too. I can't look at it. Phil Perry, he covers the Patriots. He was kind enough to join us, was it Monday? When he didn't have to. NBC Sports Boston. He's live in studio. Hi, Phil.
Good morning.
It's been busy for you.
It's been busy, yeah, but interesting. We don't go through these very often, so it is interesting.
Get used to it. So, the way this organization is lining up, it doesn't. I don't think this is going to be the last one.
It is 2 in 2 years, so yeah.
Things don't look very good.
They're trending in a little different direction. That's right.
Someone in yesterday said, "Congratulations, you're the Panthers of the AFC." So, which the Jets have held for so long. This is a whole thing. But listen, Vrabel interviews today. Do they let him leave the building?
It's a great question, and I think if the team had its way, the way that I would answer that personally, without knowing for sure, would be no.
Okay, can I just ask? It's almost like a clarification thing, because the first time I heard this phrase was like years ago when Zoe said something about not letting the guy leave the building. All right, so it is somewhat semantics.
They barricade him in,
but it is essentially not letting the guy leave town until the deal is signed.
You don't end the negotiation like, I don't want you leaving. We're face-to-face negotiating. Like, if it's late into the night, obviously you can go to a hotel. But, like, you're not leaving town. You're not getting on a plane and doing another interview. You're staying here. Now, if I'm the guy who's they're trying to sign, we're expediting this thing, and I'm demanding everything up front. So if by a team doing this, they want you so badly that they're willing to cut the negotiation down which means that there's going to be a lot less BSing, and they're going to give you most of what you want. Yes, John.
The interviews that they have scheduled with Ben Johnson tomorrow and the reaching out to Aaron Glenn, do they fully intend to go through with that, or is that more leverage to kind of give themselves a little pushback against Vrabel?
Listen, they would like to interview those guys. I think they plan to interview those guys if Aaron Glenn has even accepted that request. I don't believe that has happened yet.
Very late request to bring him in, by the way.
Perhaps in response to some of the coverage they were getting after the first two interviews that they conducted this week.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely, that's
because
what it is.
I don't know if that's absolutely.
I think it is.
Well, he also wants to go to New Orleans or the Jets, but the thing is that you think, because if people don't know the Rooney Rule, you got to interview 2 minority coaches. The Patriots yesterday, 2 days ago.
Tuesday. They hurried through.
Tuesday ago, just flew 2 black guys in and interviewed them and then sent them on their way. Byron Leftwich and someone or other. Pep Hamilton, who haven't coached in forever. So
3 years each.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Because if Aaron Glenn was like, A, I'm not going to token an interview for you, and B, because not token in the sense that you've already done the Rooney Rule, but I'm not going to be some leverage or fallback option for you if you're going to do this.
Well, number one, he had already, I believe, scheduled interviews with all 5 other teams that are looking for head coaches. Number two, he wouldn't satisfy the Rooney. Obviously, the Patriots already have satisfied. He wouldn't, because he can't meet with the Patriots in person.
Oh, okay.
Until either the Lions season is over or they have the bye before the Super Bowl.
It doesn't matter anyway, because they already done the Rooney Rule. What I'm saying is, I'm not going to be a token. I shouldn't have said token, because that brings up race. But race is the issue with the first part. But he's like, I'm not going to be some bargaining chip for you or some fallback option for you. I'm confident. Worst comes to worst, I'll stay with the Lions and make $5 million.
Well, and if you're Aaron Glenn, you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, well, you consider me a good head coaching candidate now, and I haven't done anything in the last 5 days, but you didn't consider me a good head coaching candidate 5 days ago when you fired your coach, or however long ago it was, because the interviews that they did on Tuesday, my understanding is this all happened very fast. Obviously, they fired Jerod Mayo about an hour and 15 minutes after that game on Sunday, the season finale. Requests went out that night, and Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich flew in on Monday, and they interviewed on Tuesday. And so, that's how quickly this stuff can move. And so, if you really were all about Aaron Glenn and you wanted to try to get to the front of the line on Aaron Glenn, then you would have put in the request really early.
Well, some teams that want Aaron Glenn are not talking to Ben Johnson, and I think they're not talking to they haven't put in for Ben Johnson because they want Aaron Glenn to know how much of a priority he is to them.
Does Aaron Glenn even have time to speak to the Patriots this week?
Yes.
I mean, he's got a window of 48 hours like Ben Johnson. He's got 5 interviews lined up.
If I can talk for Phil, I do know about this. Okay, so Campbell with the bye week had them in on Tuesday, and then he's having them in today, and then he's letting the coaches off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. His belief is he doesn't want you preparing for a team you're not going to play. He said that as in his experience as a player who's been to a Super Bowl, I believe, and as a coach who's been in the playoffs, as an assistant coach and as a head coach, and had the bye, his belief is that I can let these guys do these interviews. It's better for me because they're not prepping and not half-assing prep. And B, I don't want this team getting all caught up in someone we're not going to play. So his week is 2 days in the building, and now the whole weekend off. He gave them Wednesday off. So Wednesday they had opportunity to talk. So these guys, and he wants them to be able to prepare for the interviews and get to know rosters and stuff. He felt last year was a detriment to the team because the guys had to cram in interviews and cram in information. If you give these guys a full day to research rosters and put a team together to help with the interviews, that's his belief.
I was reading that Ben Johnson had Friday and Saturday to speak to teams. And if that's the case, Aaron Glenn would get the same window, and he's got 5 other teams to talk to before he gets to you. So I that's why I brought that up.
Yeah,
and if he can't talk to him this week, you won't be able to talk to him until after Detroit's eliminated.
Right. So it's up to the candidate. I mean, how much do you want to try to cram in? How much time do you want to spend preparing for these interviews? So it's up to him. I mean, if he's got 5 in line and he likes these 5, and listen, it's no secret around the league that the Patriots want Mike Vrabel, and that Mike Vrabel's interested in the Patriots job. And so if he's looking at it from afar and saying, am I just wasting my time? If I'm going to if I have all these other interviews where people actually are going to consider me, and I have to spend a couple hours getting ready for that and a couple hours in the actual Zoom interview itself, why would I go waste a few hours, 2 to prepare and maybe 2 online to go talk to the Patriots if I'm not going to get that job? So I think that certainly could come into play. Now, if Vrabel does leave the building today without a deal, walks in this morning and says, boy, it's cold as hell out there. I can't wait to get to Vegas tomorrow to go see Tom and talk to him about that opening over there. If that's how he feels and that's exactly what he wants to do, and maybe he feels like that would help his leverage with the Patriots if that's the job he ultimately wants, then the Patriots can move forward and they can have a more in-depth process, which is something they should, in my opinion, in their heart of hearts, really want to do because of all the intel and information and all the benefits you could get from going through a full and thorough process. I just think they're really set on Vrabel, and if he's willing to sign a deal today or tomorrow, I think they'd be happy to do that.
Coaches, part of the reason there's the Rooney Rule is not only to get the coaches in the thing, but the idea that in the past people have interviewed for jobs that weren't the candidate that the teams had their eye on, and have so impressed during interviews.
That was Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's the big example that everybody references.
That they've been able to. I guess that's why it's the Rooney Rule, or something of that nature. But the idea is that is what's going on. So just real quick. You mentioned institutional knowledge, and you mentioned Vegas going after Vrabel. All right, there was a very vague story that teams are interested in Bill Belichick. The term was interested. All right, now the Athletic says he'd never leave North Carolina, and there's a Vegas reporter who says Tom Brady reached out to him just to, talk to him about the interview process and how to handle the interview process. Do teams really want Bill Belichick this coaching cycle? Because, oh boy, have I heard pontification.
So I would say I doubt that they have serious interest in Bill Belichick as a head coach. Otherwise, he would have gotten a little bit more interest last year. I will say, though, the report from Rossini is not that he would never leave North Carolina. It's just that he doesn't plan to leave. She used the word plan.
Wasn't there someone else from the Athletic
says
that said that? First, okay, well, let's get into it. If Belichick leaves North Carolina, it destroys his reputation as a coach and a man.
Sure.
If he leaves North Carolina this offseason, he took the job. He's in-person recruiting. How do I know? I've seen videos. He's convinced just for one, the best player at UConn, who he most likely tampered with based on what the coach said, to go and transfer to North Carolina. And then he's going to turn around in January, quit the job and leave, and then go, oh, but my son's coach now. And North Carolina probably tells Steve Belichick to go screw. So now.
Oh, no, Steve would go with him. If he takes the job in Vegas,
Steve would go with him. But, I mean, if I was Steve Belichick and they said, oh, well, do you still want the head coaching job? But they tell him to go through, and Steve Belichick would go with his dad because they got some weird thing happening where he can't go out on his own.
Yeah, we talked about this.
He
Washington was
did
very
for a
good
year.
defensively.
He did a semester abroad at Washington.
I'm just telling you, if Steve Belichick was my kid, I would, for his own good, I would stop it now.
He actually did really well last year, apparently.
That's why it's even more difficult.
Why wouldn't you strike out on your own? You've proven you can do it by
if
yourself.
he was the idiot's son, I'd carry him around like if I felt he couldn't feed himself without it. But like if he actually has ability, for his own good, I wouldn't hang him around. All right, yeah. All right, so say
But coaches do this all the time, Fred, right? College coaches do it all the time, and it's in
not like this.
It's in Bill's contract. It's in his contract. It's a $10 million buyout before June, and it's $1 million after that. He's basically telling the world,
I want to coach.
Interested in getting back to the NFL.
Yeah, but next year, the reason the $10 million, there's a buyout in every contract, and the reason that there's the $10 million buyout is to be a detriment. Not every coach takes a job. When did he take it? December. Not every coach takes a job in December and quits it. Lane Kiffin got a ton of crap because he quit Tennessee after, a season? Like, guys leave and do shady nonsense all the time. They don't take a job in December, actively recruit, get kids to transfer, and then turn around and leave a month later.
I'm stunned that you'd be surprised if Bill Belichick did this.
Well, then you've
been around a Bill Belichick coached team and talked about Bill Belichick for a long, long time.
But the depths of what an a-hole in a no oh boy, how to put it? Like just no ethical code. Like just how could you coach a team after that? Like I just am, as a man and as my reputation, it means nothing. Like my word means nothing. As a society, have we gotten so caught up in money and like dumb records that like isn't your legacy like your character in a way and like the way that you've handled yourself? I mean, that's his concern. And if I'm a team, by the way, if I'm an NFL team and I'm like, you're willing just to walk away from all of that, go screw yourself. In fact, if I'm Woody Johnson, I reconsider, because Belichick went hand in hand to the Jets asking him if he could get the job. Mm-hmm. If I'm Woody Johnson, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you had so much cute stuff to say about me. Hey, come talk to me. Then I'd tell everybody in the media, Bill Belichick's coming in to talk to me. And then when he came in, I'd go, F you son of a bitch. How about you get out? Now I've ruined your legacy even more, you private and paranoid prick. I know. You're making it even worse. So he'd do it, which is oh boy, he has a real big lack of character. If he would be willing to do that, could you guys honestly? He's got all the. I don't care if you're poor, but I don't care if you have no money. You have all, but you have. I shouldn't even say this, but you have all the money in the world. You've done all you have in the NFL. You could look those kids in the eye and go, "I'm leaving."
It's business. It's big business. College football, pro football, it's big business.
It's big
people
business,
do what's best for them.
But
he's not alone in that.
To this degree, it shows a tremendous lack of character.
He left an NFL job after about 5 minutes.
You have college freshmen.
Come on, Phil.
You have college freshmen who commit to a school and then get there and decide they want to transfer.
That's their right as kids. I don't say the system's not broke. Well, John, that's an idiotic argument.
Why is that an idiotic
argument? That if a kid can transfer for a school after a year of playing for them.
No, without playing a year for them. Show up, look at this is not
They can't play that season. They can't show up in the spring and then go, to my knowledge, and then go transfer.
No, they can't, but I guess
you
my
could leave
point
the team. The starting quarterback
leave the team immediately.
For a pretty good football team this past year just left in the middle of the season because he wasn't getting paid enough.
For BC, well, BC's quarterback left when you got bench. You can leave during the season and not play. Yeah, if Bill quits the North Carolina job and sits home and does the McAfee
won't coach
show,
in college. He'll coach somewhere else.
Oh, you guys are unbelievable.
I'm just stunned that you are stunned by this. Come on, Fred. It's 2024. It's pro sports.
Okay, so you don't think that
virtue signaling from over there, unbelievable.
You don't think that that's a lack of character? How would you? Would you do it? Would you do that?
Unfortunately for me, I'm not in that position. Would I do it? If I had a dream job and I had another job and 5 minutes later my dream job came to me and said that we would like to hire you and give you a lot of money. You're caught up on the kids, which you have to let go because they're not kids anymore. It's pro sports.
Not everyone.
They're being paid.
Not everyone. Okay,
you're caught up on the kids. What about the kids?
A kid making $50,000 a year to go to North Carolina that you've convinced to leave a program and screwed over that program
you
for.
You know the deal. When you get in, it's college sports now.
Then you have a moral problem, too, because that character means absolutely nothing. Well, Fred, you have no character. I'm on the radio, and you'd be surprised how much character I have.
Let's also pump the brakes on dream job. He wouldn't be leaving for his
no. I'm saying me personally.
Yes.
You're in television. I'm in radio. It's different. I tell you what, I wouldn't leave Hardy sitting in the lurch.
Look at that.
You could.
Look at that.
And I'd be if they tried
also, we have contracts. I don't know about you. I have a contract that limits me in some ways in terms of movement.
Not me, baby.
Bills. That's why you are where you are. But you know what? The same is, and you know what? You are very much like Bill Belichick in that way. Because all it takes is $10 million from a billionaire owner, which is absolute.
I didn't say
peanuts.
It
wouldn't be a factor at all for these guys if they really wanted Bill Belichick as their coach.
Now you're gaslighting.
Is that what that is? Gaslighting versus virtue signaling.
I don't even know
what gaslighting is.
I'm not virtue.
I'll dig into it during the break.
Hire a woman because she has a vagina.
Well, no, you're saying what about the kids? You got to take care of the kids.
I'm saying
it's kids and their futures.
Okay, when you're a coach, you are a leader of what? What's the thing? You're a leader of men.
You're a leader of a team. Yes.
You don't think a college coach how many kids are on a college roster?
Ooh, lots.
Okay, like 100, right?
Yeah.
How many of them are going pro?
I don't know.
How many of them make
a team? Right?
Less than 10%.
How many?
Right. Sure.
You think? You think?
No. I just like getting you
You
pissed
think
off.
10 kids on North Carolina are going to the NFL? Great.
At North Carolina, maybe at Alabama.
Yeah, there's
You
probably.
said going pro. That includes
At North
a,
Carolina,
Arena
maybe
League,
one.
CFL.
Maybe
got-
one.
Okay. How many of those kids are making enough money in NIL to make a dent in their life?
Not many. I'm just telling you.
Okay, so you've got. So isn't your opportunity
you're stuck
to
on the same
lead them
thing.
into manhood? I
You're
just.
stuck on the same thing.
Oh, that's the pencil sharpener. We're late.
Adam, what do you think?
I think it's time to go to break, Fred. You got a live read ready to go. Let's do it.
This is a good debate. I don't know why you're cutting it off.
Let's keep it because we're like 5 minutes late now. So
All right,
we can
well-
pick it up on the other side.
Well, it's not. Doesn't have the momentum. I disagree with that pencil sharpener. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Oh.
Yeah, we have him for another segment. But
Toucher
there's a
and
big.
Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub. with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports.
Like I whatever teams say, it is what they say. But we were talking about how big a deal it's going to be if Vrabel does go to Vegas, like not go as a coach, but go to interview. If obviously the Patriots have moved this fast to get Vrabel, they want his ability to create like a program. They want his coaching experience. Everything they know. Kraft's so big on knowing guys and this and that, so we know they want him. But Phil and I were talking about this off the air, and we both, it's obvious kind of, but think about it. Like, today's huge. If they let Vrabel leave and take that Vegas interview, they're in a lot of trouble. Because, okay, Kraft, to his credit for doing this, not for the credit of hiring and firing Mayo, but he did take accountability and said, I made a mistake. Apparently, he got in front of the players and told them he made a mistake. He put it on himself. That's admirable. Everyone makes mistakes. Fine. Okay? But now you obviously have gone all in on Vrabel. If Vrabel leaves New England and goes and takes that interview in Vegas, now it's a roll of the dice. If you don't get Vrabel, that's catastrophic in terms of what they're concerned about, perception of the organization. I think internally, it for everyone that's not intimately involved in the coaching search, it shows a sign of weakness. Like, for a team scrambling and trying to recover their identity as winners, not winners only in winning games, but winners as an ownership in an organization, they can't let Vrabel leave.
I really feel that they feel that way. However, I would say this. I get the sense that there are a lot of people here locally who would like them to make a real run at Ben Johnson. And that the idea of Ben Johnson
with
is
the
nice
Patriots.
With the Patriots. And that I think Patriots fans. I think there are plenty of Patriots fans.
Forget the fans, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If you don't listen to the show and you haven't heard me say this, or don't listen a lot and haven't heard me say this, I've enough with the fans with Ben Johnson. They know nothing about Ben Johnson. They know.
They like the idea, though, of an offensive coach working with the quarterback, and you don't have to worry about an offensive coordinator coming in here and leaving a year later for a
How
head
about
coaching
this?
gig.
Go talk to Ben Johnson for 5 minutes and see how much you like him. Go interview Ben Johnson and see what he's like in an
You're
interview.
getting at the personality part of it.
Oh yeah, and I don't know, and you don't know, and no one knows outside of people intimate with the organization if Ben Johnson has any ability to lead a group of 52 guys and oversee that operation. Okay,
I've spoken to people that have worked with Ben Johnson in the past, and they do describe him, I think this is sort of what you're getting at, as an introverted guy who likes to spend time on his computer and draw up the best game plan possible, and he's a good play caller, but in terms of the leader of men thing, very much an unknown.
Okay, and he didn't play, and he's got very limited coaching experience. All right, so here's the deal. I'll say it again. Danny Cannell, played very good in college, played in the pros. His belief was this, I want your take on this, is that the way sports is, you can find X's and O's guys. You can find guys that can, coordinators basically. You can find guys that can draw up plays. Like, there's film on everyone. You can mimic offenses. You can do all that. There are innovative guys, sure. It's your job to find them. What's very, very difficult is to get a guy that can stand in front of a room of professional players and organize it and get it together. And beyond that, deal with ownership. Like, look at the guy in Carolina. He's got to deal with that nuts owner. He's got to deal with a fragile quarterback. Like, Canales had a lot on his plate. He did well. That's much harder to find than a guy who can draw up plays.
That's why Harbaugh last year would be so coveted, right? Because he's that kind of guy that you're describing. Is he next level in terms of his X's and O's? He obviously knows them, but that's not really his primary value to an organization. It's getting guys to believe in a message and believe in a direction and have them follow you.
And staying on message consistently.
And that's what Vrabel brings. Now, if they don't get Vrabel, again, like, number one, you'd have an actual opportunity to see if this guy that everybody thinks is the next hot young thing in Ben Johnson, you'd have an opportunity to get to know him better. You also would have an opportunity to go through a more thorough process, which I know I've talked about this a lot on TV with Albert Breer, and I know he feels strongly about this, and I know there are people in the league who feel strongly about this. You have to make the most of this opportunity to learn more about your organization, about how the rest of the league works. And so if Vrabel decides to go and even ultimately sign with somebody like the Raiders, that sucks for you because it seems like Vrabel is exactly what you need right now in terms of being that leader.
No,
and
they put
and
themselves in this
establishing a culture.
situation. No,
And
interviewing
because
a bunch of coaches is obviously the right idea.
So
but they push this, and everyone knows now they want Vrabel.
Right.
If they don't get him, it looks like they fail.
It looks bad.
Yes.
But do they not benefit from what initially looks like a bad thing for them? It is a bad look, quote unquote. The optics, quote unquote, are bad if you don't get Vrabel. Would you ultimately benefit
high floor,
by interviewing more people? And then maybe you ultimately land on somebody like Brian Flores, who does have some of those leadership qualities.
Yeah, well, the leadership qualities weren't so great in Miami.
No, they
Everyone
weren't.
hated him. So,
But maybe you just learned that organizationally you still have so much more work to do because, like we were
Vrabel should have told him that.
reading earlier, like the people who did interview for jobs last year in the coordinator positions were not impressed with the questions, and they weren't impressed with just the way things were handled in the interview process. So you might just learn what hopefully you already know. It's like, oh, we're not good as a football team right now. We're not even good at finding ways to make ourselves better.
I think that the process is obviously going to be a little bit different this year. Jerod Mayo was part of that interview process when it came to things like interviewing offensive coordinators. Robin Glazer was a part of that process last year. It's my understanding she's not this year. And so it's Alonzo Highsmith, it's Elliot Wolf, it's Robert, Jonathan. And so it is a little bit different. And so we'll see what the reactions are. Although, guys, I'm not sure they're going to do more than 3 in-person interviews. They did the 2 on Tuesday. They're doing Mike Vrabel today. I think if it goes the way the Patriots want it to, that'll be it. And listen, you can and you should in some ways. Again, criticize him for not going through this thorough process, but you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you know you really want Vrabel and you wait, and he says, well, what am I waiting for? I'm giving you time to go fall in love with Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn or Brian Flores. How does that benefit me?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The floor on Vrabel's high. Like Vrabel's not going to come in and it's not going to be Jerod Mayo. Like he knows how to run an organization, right? Like so maybe you don't make the playoffs ever with him. But you're not going to have a season like last year.
That learning curve does not exist in the same way.
Okay, you're not. Let's just assume you're not getting Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn. Certainly not Aaron Glenn. And Brian Flores, I'd be very careful with because everyone in Miami hated him. But say you bring in another coordinator, like any of the other coordinators. The coordinator in Tampa is by going, we're interviewing all these guys. And we're doing it this way. And then you hired a coordinator because you thought he was the best candidate and you got the infrastructure together and did that. The chances of it they're so swayed by the public and so swayed by public opinion. If you don't get Vrabel and next season you win 4 or 5 games again because your roster sucks, say, or May doesn't play a couple games or whatever happens. I mean, that's an unmitigated disaster. This all starts over again.
I would agree because they are as moved as you suggest they are by public opinion. I really think if it hadn't gotten so toxic here, and I get it, right? Boston and New England and people feel about these teams the way they do, and it makes it great when it's going well, but when it's not, you get owners who are really swayed, especially Robert Kraft, and he admitted it the other day. I asked him how much fan opinion had to do with this decision, and he acknowledged that. Listen, he views this as the fans' team.
He's the biggest fan.
He's the number one fan. He just happens to be the fan who runs the thing.
Team.
And so I appreciate that in some ways, the honesty of it and the fact that he'll, obviously sort of yield to his emotions in some ways. I just don't know if you want to be consistently making decisions over a long period of time based on what you're hearing from fans and hearing on the radio or watching on TV.
Will he ever use Madden ratings as the Johnson family has in New York?
It seems to be working really well there.
Apparently,
why they wouldn't.
Bert's told us, well, maybe I shouldn't say Bert's told us, but Bert's told us that Arthur Blank, because Flowery Branch is real far from Atlanta, and so, from his house, and so where they practice, the Falcons practice, that Arthur Blank will listen to the sports talk radio like our friend Mike Bell on his way to and from the camp or practice, and then he'll get to practice chock full of questions at the radio host. Now, if they listened to me, they would have hired this Mayo's thing much. But I think they're more likely to listen to the middays and afternoons for that information.
Yeah. You never know. They could be listening right now.
Listen, Jonathan got me my job here, apparently. All right, look. Phil, NBC Sports Boston. Fantastic appearance, even though you showed a tremendous lack of character with your Bill Belichick leaving North Carolina.
I don't know why you think I would have an ounce of character. It's great to see all of you guys.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for getting up.
And thank you for doing the show on Monday when you didn't have to. I know that was a long day.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime. Anytime. Happy to be on with you guys
that.
whenever I can.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we will be back. Here are the headlines.
This is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on.
So earlier in the show, Fred, we revisited something from Joe Murray's show a couple of nights ago. Something happened last night, and rather than do it tomorrow and do 2 days of Joe Murray, I just thought we'd kind of throw it in here at the end because it's on topic. It's about Mike Vrabel's visit to the Patriots today. And Joe had some thoughts as to how the Patriots should handle Mike Vrabel's visit.
This is what I would do. I'd bring Mike Vrabel out tomorrow. I'd get him in one of those nice hotels there right on Patriot Place.
Okay. Yeah. That will knock his socks off.
All right. So far, not so good, but continue, Joe.
I'd send him over to Davio's, get a nice little steak, right? I got some friends over at Howl at the Moon. If he wants to go out and have some drinks over there, he can.
But doesn't Zolak's brother-in-law own Howl at the Moon?
Yeah. So far, it's a nice
Is
hotel.
that still a place?
It's part of Splitsville, isn't it? It's like connected
I have no
to
idea.
it. I think
They're
so.
still doing dueling pianos. All right.
Oh, sweet. So far, it's the nice hotel at Patriot Place, dinner, Howl at the Moon. What else?
Have some fun with them. Maybe they can throw some axes if they want.
Well, now he's being silly.
I mean, Jesus, Joe.
I think Joe just wants free stuff from Patriot Place now.
No, really?
He's greasing up.
Maybe skip a business, Joe. As you work your way down the right-hand side.
You want to know how long it takes me to remember something? Remember when I was talking about the place that the New England Patriot owned? That's Apex Entertainment.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It just took me 48 hours for that to come into my head.
I told you about my sister who lives in, the blue dot within the red state of Durham, North Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
And their restaurant is across from an axe throwing place. So she's outside of her restaurant. She's talking with a coworker. Someone's walking into the axe throwing place. It's a guy dressed as a woman, dress, the whole thing. And my sister's coworker looks across the street and goes, "Ew, gross." My sister's like, "Come on, dude, just take it easy. The guy's wearing a dress, it's like no big deal, especially around here."
Really?
Or if not arenas, several thousand.
Oh yeah.
Theaters.
And so with the big screens, so
Yes.
you can watch it. It's kind of in the round.
In a catwalk,
Yeah.
to like a runway catwalk to like get up on stage.
Oh, really?
And I know a little of that is like ironic, but the going to it is not ironic. Darts, golf, I guess, kind of is like that, but at least it's outside. Can you think of anything that
Well, not anymore. Not with the TGL.
That's right. The golf's
boy.
indoor. You got this big screen to hit into
In
now.
fairness to Hardy, he's resisted the temptation to get into it yet this week. But can you think of something that we enjoy as a North American curling, I guess. So as a United States that we enjoy that is conceivably boring to watch as darts?
Bowling.
Cornhole.
But we don't watch either. Those aren't big. You couldn't put cornhole or bowling in an arena with like a rabid fan.
You can put it in a decent-sized conference room in St. Louis and get ESPN to cover it.
No, that's
ACL.
Different things. I'm saying that would be an arena-like sport.
Sure.
And the answer is I can't think of anything. I racked my brain because, people go, well, baseball's boring, or you could say anything boring. Football's technically boring with all this time in
We're
between.
talking about darts.
Yeah, this is darts. Yeah. Like, it's like just inherently boring to like watch be done. I don't doubt there's skill involved, but it's awful boring.
Oh. Well, arm wrestling, if you over
But
the top,
again-
that was a documentary. So
Again, but I don't even think they feign that they could do that in an arena and over the top.
He could wake up on Friday morning in the bed. Checkout's probably like noon. We'll give him extended checkout till 1. How about that? They'll do their interview with Ben Johnson in the morning, and maybe they could eat breakfast somewhere. Skaz, out your way. I don't know.
Well, Skaz, give him some ideas so he can get free food from them.
Skaz, not Skags.
I said Skags instead of Skaz. I've never met him to my knowledge.
at the beginning of that segment that we played today, when he pronounces his last name, I couldn't have told you. I'm pretty good with names. I called him still to this day Scaramouche because I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I'm thinking he might be Italian, if that helps.
Yep. Scare Mazzino, by the way.
I can't open my eye.
Well, good, very good, John.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's why I stayed quiet. Gave it a second to settle in.
We broke the news that there would be a fill-in on this show on a week from Monday, when it was announced, and it has been now confirmed, that Felger, Mazz, Jim Murray will all be in on the morning show on Martin Luther King Day a week from Monday.
And that's kind of neat and certainly beneficial to our ratings. But I do really want them to go look at YouTube in the comments. I really want them to go through that exercise, because Felger and Mazz get a lot of hate, but they're so focused on sports. I would imagine 75% like their take on sports sucks. Walk into this world.
I'm a nice man.
Luchador emailed, says, can't wait to call in at 6:01 that morning and tell them they're not having enough fun.
Different kind of audience, 6 to 10.
Fair, and it was literally like the NFL draft. Like, you'll be moving there, but they gave us 2.5 days to find a place to live in a city that we'd never been to. So that was very nice of them.
Too bad you couldn't end up in Phoenix. It's a wonderful place to live. It's built for human occupancy.
No bees.
Well, there are no bees. And
There are bees.
No. And it's not built for human occupancy.
No bees.
You know how many people I've said, you're driving to Scottsdale from Phoenix, and then all of a sudden you see grass and trees, and that's bad, that they'll go, it's like they've awakened part of their brain. They'll go, oh. It's happened to at least a dozen people that I've given that day to. They've gone, oh, yeah, you're right. And they'd be like, how about you think?
You think this building got here naturally?
Well, do you
Man
think
creates the environment around him.
There's
Get
20
used to
there's
it.
20 miles of nothing, and then all of a sudden there's lush
Learn
grass.
Real man
Anthropology.
lives in harmony with the environment around him. Thank you.
Adam will be walking around some park today. And by park,
It's
I
too
mean
windy.
Your backyard if it's got trees.
Oh, it sure does.
It's too windy for Top Golf, Hardy told me, got me out.
Interesting.
All right, that'll do it for us. Everyone have a great day. Bye.
More Toucher and Hardy on the